If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 41, Defeating the Wake 4 Kakashis of Chakra. Time advanced to March once again. For the Ninja Academy, March was the season of graduation and grade advancement. The 6th year students were about to graduate and become genin. And Natsuki, now completing his 2nd year, was moving up to the 3rd. His age had also changed from 7 to 8. The day before Class 3A's registration was Class 6A's graduation exam. Natsuki arrived at the Ninja Academy training grounds early in the morning. He didn't wait long before spotting Uchiha Mikoto. "Senior Mikoto, good morning." Natsuki greeted her with a smile. He and Mikoto were the type who became friends after fighting. Combined with the favor he had done her, they had grown close. Over the past year, they had met, sparred, and shared meals many times. "Good morning." Mikoto spoke softly. "You didn't have to come all this way." "It's not out of my way." Natsuki shook his head. "Have your Jonin instructor and teammates been decided?" "Yes. I'll be joining the Konoha military police force after graduation," Mikoto replied. Although the Konoha military police force bore the village's name, it was actually a department managed by the Uchiha clan. Its duties resembled a weakened version of ANBU, maintaining public order throughout Konoha. From its inception, it had been assigned to the Uchiha by the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama. He had multiple intentions behind this arrangement. First, the Uchiha clan had contributed greatly to the village's founding. Konoha needed to show appreciation. Second, it was a test. If the Uchiha could integrate into Konoha through the police force, everyone would benefit. But conversely, if they couldn't, they would alienate the entire village. That trend was already apparent. Many villagers harbored grievances against the police force. That was expected. Natsuki casually produced a storage scroll. "Senior Mikoto, this is a graduation gift." "Thank you." Mikoto looked mildly surprised but didn't refuse. She accepted the scroll, glanced inside, and found it filled with blue healing potions. "This is too valuable. I can't use this many." Mikoto tried to return it. The blue healing potion had become essential for Konoha ninjas. Especially when going on missions, everyone carried a few bottles. After all, it could save lives at critical moments. "Let me tell you a secret." Natsuki didn't take it back. "I invented the blue healing potion. It didn't cost me anything." "What?" Mikoto's tone was surprised. Konoha hadn't publicly announced the potion's inventor. First, they worried that enemy village ninjas might target Natsuki. A Ninja Academy student inventing such a formula would definitely attract capture attempts. Second, they worried about his safety within the village. Wealth moved hearts. Even in Konoha, he wasn't absolutely secure. "What an unexpected secret," Mikoto said with understanding. "I won't tell anyone." Natsuki nodded. "Good luck with your exam. Come find me when you're free." "Thank you." A gentle smile appeared on Mikoto's face. She stored the scroll, turned, and walked toward Class 6A. Natsuki didn't linger. After leaving the academy, he headed to Orochimaru's residence. Upon entering, he saw a flowing stream of water in the courtyard. Noeki had arrived early and was practicing water release. Having spent so long with Noeki, Natsuki understood his strength well. Simply put, he was a carbon copy of Senju Tobirama minus the forbidden jutsu. Massive chakra reserves. Exceptional water release. Learning Tobirama's techniques directly. His taijutsu was solid as well. After all, his sister was Tsunade. "Noeki-senpai." Natsuki smiled. "When are you free? Let's have a serious spar." "Absolutely." Noeki said eagerly. "I've been wanting to see exactly how strong you really are." "Why not right now?" Orochimaru's voice rang out suddenly. At some point, he had appeared at the doorway. "Works for me," Noeki said enthusiastically. "All right." Natsuki considered for a moment and agreed. He had originally planned to discuss the shadow techniques he had created with Orochimaru, but on second thought, demonstrating them in battle would be more intuitive. "Watch yourself, Natsuki," Noeki warned. "I've improved a lot recently." "Same here," Natsuki replied, refusing to be outdone. Although they trained together most of the time, that didn't mean they revealed everything to each other. Body flicker technique. Nowaika made the first move. He lunged forward, leaped into the air, and brought his right leg down from above. Golden right foot. Natsuki instinctively raised his leg to block. But the moment their legs collided, he realized something was wrong. A massive force struck him. His right leg went numb. At the critical moment, he activated reinforcement magecraft and retreated backward. Boom! Nowaika's foot landed. Spiderweb cracks spread across the ground. Natsuki immediately recognized the technique Tsunade's heavenly foot of pain. Although Nowaika's version was far weaker than Tsunade's, it easily overpowered his golden right foot. Nowaika didn't grow complacent from winning the first exchange. He seized the momentum and formed hand seals. Water release, water bullet technique. Bullet-like masses of water flew toward Natsuki in rapid succession. Shadow space. Natsuki raised both hands. A cascade of kunao and shuriken erupted from his shadow, swarming toward the incoming projectiles. What is that? Nowaika froze. A shadow technique? Natsuki actually succeeded. Orochimaru, observing the battle, revealed genuine astonishment. A year sounded like a long time, but for creating ninjutsu, it was actually quite short. Especially since this shadow technique was at least B-rank level. B-rank ninjutsu commonly took several years to develop. In the original story, it had taken Namikaze Minato 3 years to create the Raise Nan. Although the Raise Nan was A-rank, Minato was a genius among geniuses. Anyone else would have taken even longer. Water splashed everywhere. Kunao, shuriken, and water masses collided violently. Without waiting for the chaos to settle, Natsuki drew a wooden sword from his shadow space. One sword style, 36-pound phoenix. He slashed outward. A flying strike surged toward Nowaika. Nowaika remained focused. The instant he saw the wooden sword, he formed hand seals. Water release, water dragon bullet. A massive water dragon erupted forth and collided with the flying slash. Combined with the previous kunao, shuriken, and water masses, the courtyard became a battlefield. Nowaika exhaled and instinctively looked toward Natsuki. His expression shifted because Natsuki was gone. He frantically scanned his surroundings. Nothing. Natsuki had vanished into thin air. Only Orochimaru lowered his gaze to the fast-moving shadow gliding across the ground. He created this shadow technique as well? 2 shadow techniques in 1 year? If word got out, every ninja in the world would be stunned. Nowaika felt a surge of crisis. He had never seen Shadow Assassin before. Combined with the aftermath of the previous exchange, he hadn't noticed Natsuki's shadow. At the critical moment, he gritted his teeth and formed hand seals. Water release, water formation wall. A standard water formation wall could only block one direction, but Senju Tobirama's version could block all 4 sides. Water flowed rapidly around Nowaika. Just as it was about to enclose him completely, a sound of tearing air rang out. Nowaika turned instinctively. A flash of blade light stung his eyes. "Ai, lion's song." Nowaika reacted quickly and kicked out. But no matter how fast he was, he couldn't outpace the blade. Nowaika's body shuddered as the wooden sword struck his abdomen. Natsuki sidestepped his retaliatory kick. You came out of the shadow." Nowaika's eyes went wide. What shocked him most wasn't losing to Natsuki but the technique he had just witnessed. "This is a shadow technique I created. I call it Shadow Assassin." Natsuki smiled. "It allows me to hide within my shadow." Nowaika opened his mouth, then closed it temporarily at a loss for words. No wonder he couldn't find Natsuki. The guy had been hiding in the shadow all along. And such a powerful technique was something he had created? Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Uzumaki Naruto Template Ability 4, Chakra Reservoir. Natsuki immediately felt chakra surging within his body. So much that he wasn't used to it. Chapter 42, Kamatu Tanjiro Template. I didn't expect to still lose to you. Nowaika sighed. A year ago, during their first spar, Natsuki's kenjutsu had shocked him. To avoid being overtaken, he had spent the past year diligently mastering chakra-enhanced strength and water release. He had thought he could maintain the gap between them, but it had only lasted a year before he was defeated. For someone who had been called a genius since childhood, the realization was disorienting. I had the advantage of self-created techniques. Natsuki sheathed his wooden sword. That's not a fair comparison. Self-created techniques are still a manifestation of strength. Nowaika shook his head. Losing to Natsuki stirred complicated feelings, but a loss was a loss. He wouldn't make excuses. Both of you performed very well. Orochimaru interrupted their conversation. The current Noeke had mastered chakra-enhanced strength and multiple water-release ninjutsu. His strength was comparable to an elite chunin. And he was only 11 years old. His future was limitless. Natsuki needed no further explanation. Creating kenjutsu, ninjutsu, and secret techniques at age 8 given enough time, becoming the second Senju Tobirama wouldn't be a problem. Most importantly, both of them were his students. For a moment, Orochimaru felt deeply satisfied. We'll fight again next time. Noeke quickly recovered his spirits and grinned. I already understand your shadow techniques now. Maybe I'll have a new one by then. Natsuki blinked. Noeke's mouth twitched. Why does creating secret techniques sound so casual when you say it? You have awakened the Gacha Template template. Who? Natsuki's heart jolted, then excitement surged. Gacha Template was the male protagonist of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Why had he awakened this template? Because of Noeke. Natsuki quickly examined the details. Name, Gacha Template. Era, Pre-Natakumo Mountain. World, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Rank, B rank. Ability 1, Water Breathing unlocked. Effect, a fusion of the original breathing style and water release. Enhances physical abilities while also amplifying the power of water release techniques. Ability 2, Water Breathing first, second, and third forms locked. Effect, the first 3 forms of water breathing. Unlock condition, achieve beginner level water release chakra nature transformation. Ability 3, Water Breathing 4th, 5th, and 6th forms locked. Effect, the middle 3 forms of water breathing. Unlock condition, defeat 3 chunin or takubutsu jonin who excel in water release or kenjutsu. Ability 4, Water Breathing 7th, 8th, and 9th forms locked. Effect, the final 3 forms of water breathing. Unlock condition, achieve proficient level water release chakra nature transformation. Ability 5, Water Breathing 10th form, constant flux locked. Effect, like a coiled dragon, launch a continuous series of rotating slashes. Unlock condition, completely master water breathing and unlock total concentration, constant. After reading, Natsuki nodded to himself. As expected. Gacha Template knew both water breathing and sun breathing, but the template only provided water breathing. This was undoubtedly related to Noeke's water release. Natsuki stood in place, digesting the information flooding his mind. The essence of the breathing styles in Demon Slayer was strengthening cardiopulmonary function, absorbing massive amounts of oxygen in short bursts to enhance physical abilities. When combined with various kenjutsu, it produced styles like water, thunder, flame, stone, and wind. Although they appeared to have elemental properties, they were primarily physical attacks supplemented by sword aura. But after the system's modification, water breathing had become true water breathing, fusing water release with the breathing style. It could enhance physical abilities and amplify water release power. This meant water release techniques in the ninja world could benefit from water breathing's enhancement. Because of this, after awakening the template, Natsuki had automatically acquired the water affinity. Combined with his previous earth and wind affinities, he now possessed 3 chakra natures. An unexpected but welcome surprise. And with the water affinity, achieving ability 2's unlock condition would be much easier. It required beginner-level water release chakra nature transformation. Chakra transformation was divided into 2 categories, shape transformation and nature transformation. Shape transformation referred to the form chakra or ninjutsu took. The Raise Nan, for example, was known as the pinnacle of shape transformation because its form wasn't fixed, it was an irregular rotation. Nature transformation meant converting inherently neutral chakra into elemental chakra, earth release, lightning release, wind release, and so on. Natsuki already possessed the water affinity. Beginner-level transformation required converting his chakra into water release anytime, anywhere. Proficient and mastery levels had higher requirements, molding water release chakra into any shape imaginable. That was also the unlock condition for ability 4. Among the 4 locked abilities, Natsuki felt abilities 2 and 3 had the simplest conditions. They could be completed given enough time. Although defeating 3 takubutsu jonin who excelled in water release or kenjutsu would be troublesome. The most difficult to unlock was undoubtedly ability 5. It required achieving total concentration, constant for water breathing. Simply put, maintaining water breathing active 24 hours a day, thereby improving baseline stamina. Difficult as it was, mastering total concentration, constant meant training his body around the clock. Both taijutsu and kenjutsu would receive corresponding enhancements. In combat, that was a massive advantage. Noeka-senpai, can you teach me water release chakra nature transformation? Natsuki composed himself and asked. Why do you suddenly want to learn water release? Noeka blinked, caught off guard. Creating 2 shadow techniques which are yin release ninjutsu is already my limit. Natsuki spoke half-truthfully. My next goal is creating water release ninjutsu. You know the second Hokage is my idol. Noeki opened his mouth then closed it, speechless. Although learning water release was simpler than yin release, creating water release was an entirely different matter. Moreover, given Natsuki's age, learning water release at all was extremely difficult. Normally, proficiency in 2 chakra natures qualified someone to become a jonin. Then can I learn whatever water release you create? Noeki recovered and asked curiously. If there's something suitable for you, I'll teach you. Natsuki replied. How should I put it? Noeki definitely couldn't learn the 10 forms of water breathing, he didn't know kenjutsu. But he might be able to learn water breathing itself. Natsuki could use this opportunity to verify whether the abilities he acquired could be taught to others. Then I'll teach you the water release I learned too. Noeki said. He had always been fair. Natsuki nodded. Senju Tobirama's water release was genuinely excellent. With water breathing amplifying his water release power, learning a few additional techniques wouldn't hurt. Chapter 43, Water Breathing. Water release chakra nature transformation can be divided into 3 stages. Noeki paused. For now, mastering the first stage is enough. Natsuki immediately recalled the plot in the original story where Uzumaki Naruto learned wind release transformation from Sarutobi Asuma. Like water release, it had also been divided into 3 stages. The first stage was using wind release to cut a leaf. The second stage required increasing wind release chakra input to slice through a waterfall. The third stage was combining nature transformation with ninjutsu freely using or creating wind release techniques. What do you think is water release's greatest characteristic? Noeki produced a piece of paper. Flow. Natsuki considered for a moment. It's moisture. Noeki corrected. Our first stage is to completely saturate this paper using water release chakra. Water release chakra flowed from his palm. In moments, the paper in his hand was thoroughly soaked. Here. Noeki handed him a dry sheet. Natsuki nodded and began training alongside him. Although he possessed the water affinity, his training didn't proceed smoothly. Meanwhile, Orochimaru arrived at the Hokage's office. He reported the 2 shadow techniques Natsuki had created. Truly remarkable. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. I look forward to seeing what ninjutsu he creates in the future. Natsuki is still young. I hope you can restrict information about him as much as possible, teacher. Orochimaru reminded him. Rest assured. I won't let other villages notice him prematurely. Sarutobi Hiruzen understood immediately and gave a direct promise. Natsuki was not only a ninja of the Hokage's faction, he was an inheritor of the Will of Fire. If the Nara clan finds out about these 2 shadow techniques, they definitely won't be able to sit still. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly laughed. Both Shadow Space and Shadow Assassin were extremely practical. But since they were high difficulty yin release ninjutsu, very few ninjas could learn them. The Nara clan was different. Shadow techniques were their specialty. If they could acquire these 2 jutsu, it was no exaggeration to say the entire clan's strength would rise to another level. Then it depends on whether they can offer a price that satisfies Natsuki. Orochimaru said calmly. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, having no intention of helping the Nara clan. As Hokage, he wouldn't openly show favoritism. Besides, Natsuki was his grand disciple. If he were to favor anyone, it wouldn't be the Nara clan first. Time passed slowly. After a full day, Natsuki had made no progress. But he wasn't anxious. In the original story, it had taken Uzumaki Naruto about a month to complete wind release chakra nature transformation training. And that was with the cheat of the multiple shadow clone jutsu. At that point, Naruto could easily create thousands of clones. Natsuki thought of his Uzumaki Naruto template. At this moment, he almost wished Kumagakure would kidnap Uzumaki Kushina sooner so he could acquire the multiple shadow clone jutsu. But that was just a thought. He had no way to influence when that event occurred. Natsuki stroked his chin. He could learn the standard shadow clone jutsu first. With the chakra reserves of 4 Kakashis, he had enough to support it. Most importantly, he had too many responsibilities. One person simply wasn't enough. With shadow clones, he could send duplicates to class and work as the izakaya's chef while he focused on training. Guess who I am? A sudden voice rang out behind him. No. Natsuki said casually. Wrong. Uzumaki Kushina blocked his path, looking dissatisfied. She puffed out her cheeks like a hamster storing food. Kushina, when did you get back? Natsuki asked with a smile. After the academy went on break, she and Tsunade had returned to the Uzumaki clan to visit relatives. Although it was called visiting relatives, Kushina was actually an orphan. If her parents were alive, forcing a young girl to relocate to Konoha would have been too inhumane. Moreover, once she became the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, she wouldn't be permitted to leave the village. From a practical standpoint, Konoha didn't want a Jinchuriki with strong ties to the Uzumaki clan. Just got back. Kushina pouted. Why didn't you recognize my voice? Sorry. I was thinking about how to create a water release technique. Natsuki had actually guessed it was her, but he'd answered wrong on purpose. Seeing her cute reaction was worth it. Kushina wasn't actually angry. She immediately forgot the matter entirely. When did you start researching water release? What about your shadow techniques? Because Natsuki frequently studied yin release books and materials, Kushina had seen him working on it. She knew he'd been creating shadow jutsu. I've already succeeded with the shadow techniques. But the next steps require a higher level of yin release that I temporarily can't achieve. Natsuki explained. That fast? Kushina asked curiously. What kind of shadow techniques are they? Natsuki demonstrated shadow space and shadow assassin. Wow! Kushina's eyes lit up. I want a convenient shadow space too. She had taken an instant liking to it. This is yin release ninjutsu. You might not be able to learn it. Natsuki shook his head. But if you want to try, I'll definitely teach you. Then I'll learn it when I have time. Kushina sighed. Right now I have to focus on sealing techniques. Learning sealing jutsu was preparation for becoming the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. The urgency was because Uzumaki Mito's life was nearing its end. Natsuki understood her situation. He didn't press further. Let's go eat. Kushina grabbed his wrist and headed toward the Konoha orphanage. She hadn't tasted Natsuki's cooking in so long. She was genuinely craving it. Wait. Natsuki pulled her back. Let's pick up Nono from the hospital first. Kushina finally remembered Yakushi Nono. She immediately changed direction toward Konoha Hospital. Once all three were together, they returned to the orphanage. I want tempura. Kushina announced as she entered. Nono followed behind her. Natsuki closed the door and headed for the kitchen. He didn't start cooking immediately. Instead, he took a deep breath and activated water breathing. During the day, he'd been focused on water release nature transformation training. He hadn't yet tried using water breathing. Natsuki immediately heard a strong, powerful heartbeat. An astonishing change swept through his body. Power surged forth. He felt stronger than ever before. Natsuki clenched his fists. For him right now, water breathing's greatest enhancement was to Kenjutsu and Taijutsu. If he were to fight Noeki, Uchiha Mikoto, Namikaze Minato, or any of the others again, he could defeat them using Kenjutsu and Taijutsu alone. Chapter 44, Projection Magecraft shows its power. The next day marked the start of the school year. Natsuki arrived early to register for Class 3A. After greeting Uzumaki Kushina, he went to find Orochimaru. Teacher, I want to learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Natsuki said directly. All right. Orochimaru nodded. After learning the Shadow Clone Jutsu, you'll have more time to train. Thank you, teacher. Natsuki had expected to explain further, but Orochimaru agreed immediately. Noeki, you should learn it alongside him. Orochimaru considered for a moment. I've wanted to learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu for ages. Noeki's spirits lifted. He spoke excitedly. Teacher. Natsuki suddenly thought of something. Can we change the targets for our upcoming missions? Change to what? Orochimaru looked at him. Water release and Kenjutsu specialists. Natsuki replied. I excel in Kenjutsu, and Noeki-senpai excels in water release. I think we should gain more experience against ninjas of the same type. Their previous mission targets had mostly been genjutsu and fire release ninjas. At the time, Natsuki had used Uchiha Mikoto as an excuse, claiming he wanted combat experience against genjutsu and fire release users. I'll keep an eye out. Orochimaru agreed without much thought. To him, the mission target made no difference. Since Natsuki had this idea, as his teacher, he naturally wouldn't refuse. The Shadow Clone Jutsu is B rank. Given your age, it won't be easy to learn. Orochimaru began his explanation. Time flew. December arrived. The second semester of Class 3A was coming to an end. On the Ninja Academy training grounds, all of Class 3A was present. Today was the practical combat exam. Natsuki divided his attention chatting with Kushina and Minato while reviewing the system's mission panel. After 2 semesters of effort, his water release chakra nature transformation training had completed the first stage. Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Kamatu Tanjiro Template Ability 2, Water Breathing First Form, Second Form, Third Form. Although it was called Ability 2, it was effectively 3 abilities at once, or rather, 3 ninteijutsu. Kenjutsu combined with water release was the most standard ninteijutsu in the ninja world. Natsuki considered a question. Should he reveal it today? Or wait for a more suitable opportunity? What a pleasant dilemma. He hadn't publicly displayed the Shippo templates Fox Fire and Fox Magic, nor the Fushiguro Megami templates Shadow Space and Shadow Assassin. Natsuki fell into thought. He had created 2 shadow techniques. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru already knew he excelled in yin release. Perhaps he could reveal Fox Magic, Shadow Space, and Shadow Assassin. They all fell under yin release ninjutsu. Projection Magecraft could work too. The essence of yin release was creating form from nothing. Projection Magecraft fit that definition perfectly. Third round, 4th match, Natsuki vs Namikaze Minato. Ishida Yu's voice rang out. The students of Class 3A immediately perked up to watch the strongest battle in their class. Although it was called the strongest battle, everyone knew Natsuki would win. The reason was simple. In every monthly and final exam, Namikaze Minato had lost. However, even in defeat, he remained an unbeatable goal for the rest of them. Ever since becoming Jiraiya's student, Minato displayed new ninjutsu at regular intervals. His learning speed left them dumbfounded. Minato. Natsuki stood opposite him and smiled. What new technique do you have this time? I do have one. Minato hesitated. But I'm not proficient yet. That's fine. We're sparring, not fighting to the death. Natsuki said curiously. Give it a try. Could it be the Flying Thunder God technique? No, it shouldn't be. The Flying Thunder God was S rank with an extremely high learning difficulty. Although Minato was genuinely talented, he was still too young. Then watch out. After speaking, Minato immediately threw a shuriken. But this shuriken was much larger than normal. It flew high into the air and suddenly stopped. Minato formed hand seals with both hands. The shuriken trembled. Numerous after-images appeared. Natsuki's gaze sharpened. He recognized the technique instantly. The A-rank shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, a ninjutsu created by Sarutobi Hiruzen, inspired by the Shadow Clone Jutsu. In the original story, Minato had used it as well. However, judging from the current execution, he was indeed unproficient. Whether he could successfully complete it was questionable. Natsuki raised his hand without hesitation. Projection Magecraft. A massive surge of chakra flowed from his body and transformed into shuriken after shuriken under his control. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Minato glanced over and nearly lost his composure. Fortunately, his reaction was fast. He hurriedly stabilized his own technique, preventing it from failing midway. Minato exhaled with relief and released all his chakra. He had been lucky this time. It didn't fail. Densely packed shuriken plummeted from the sky. Reinforcement Magecraft. After reinforcing his hands, Natsuki moved. With extreme speed, he threw out all the shuriken formed by projection Magecraft. A shame I don't have unlimited blade works. Otherwise, this wouldn't be so tedious. Seeing this, Minato instantly realized something. This wasn't the shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu but some unknown ninjutsu. Metal clashed against metal. The students of Class 3A widened their eyes. Countless shuriken collided in mid-air. Sparks flew everywhere. A large number of shuriken were deflected and fell to the ground. But someone quickly noticed a problem. After Natsuki's shuriken landed, they vanished without a trace moments later. What's going on? Minato noticed as well, completely baffled. It's yin release ninjutsu. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen said with certainty. After speaking, he fell into thought. Using yin release to create shuriken? No, if he can create shuriken, he can create other ninja tools. Somewhat impractical. Sarutobi Hiruzen concluded. First, the projected tools were inferior to the originals. Second, it consumed massive amounts of chakra. Better to simply carry ninja tools. Although he couldn't carry unlimited amounts, at least he wouldn't waste excessive chakra. Wind release, shuriken. Minato snapped back to reality and immediately recognized a rare opportunity. Natsuki's hands were currently occupied constantly throwing shuriken. Wind release chakra surged out and adhered to a shuriken. Minato threw it fiercely. The shuriken shot toward Natsuki like an arrow loosed from a bow. Shadow assassin. Natsuki's body vanished completely, submerging into the shadow on the ground. The shadow moved rapidly and arrived in front of Minato. Natsuki reappeared. In the instant their eyes met, he released fox magic. Minato hadn't expected genjutsu at all. Caught off guard, he fell into a daze. Natsuki drew a wooden sword. One sword style, horse demon. Minato cried out in pain. While breaking free from the genjutsu, he was knocked to the ground. He looked up at Natsuki instinctively, feeling utterly bewildered. He had thought that after learning the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, even if he couldn't win, he could at least gain the upper hand for a while. Instead, they had been evenly matched until Natsuki used a secret technique and a genjutsu he had never displayed before, defeating him completely. Minato couldn't help but sigh. Every time he thought he had gathered enough intel on Natsuki, Natsuki brought out something new that caught him off guard. He created another genjutsu. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked surprised. He increasingly felt that Natsuki was unconventional. No talent for learning ninjutsu but genuine talent for creating it. Regardless, this was ultimately a good thing. Chapter 45, The Nara Clan's Request. Fortunately, you haven't completely mastered the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to block it at all. Natsuki walked up to Namikaze Minato and extended his hand. You're as modest as ever. Minato grabbed his hand, stood up, and shook his head. He couldn't block it but he could dodge. And Natsuki could still defeat him regardless. Especially the Shadow Assassin and Fox Magic just now. He had absolutely no way to counter them. I'm telling the truth. Natsuki chuckled. I'll continue working hard. Minato said seriously. I won't let you catch up easily either. Natsuki nodded. After a brief exchange, the two left the field. The exams for Class 3A continued. But everyone's attention remained on the battle between Natsuki and Minato. Compared to the other matches, theirs had been two flashy various ninjutsu appearing one after another. Kushina, are you going back to the Uzumaki clan for winter vacation? Natsuki asked casually. I'll go back during New Year. Kushina explained. I can't stay too long right now. I have to train in sealing jutsu. Natsuki's thoughts stirred. It seemed Uzumaki Mito's condition was already quite bad. He thought of the Uzumaki clan again. Next year, they would be in 4th year. In the original story, Kushina and Minato graduated in their 5th year the year the Second Shinobi World War fully erupted. In other words, the Uzumaki clan could be annihilated at any time. When would it happen? Natsuki suddenly had a flash of insight. Because the Uzumaki clan and Konoha were allies. To annihilate the Uzumaki clan, the enemy would have to either hide it from Konoha or act when Konoha was tied down elsewhere. Currently, the war in the Land of Rain was already intense. Especially between Uegakure and Tsunagakure. According to the original plot, it wouldn't be long before Megakure declared war on Uegakure, Tsunagakure, and Konoha simultaneously. At that point, Konoha would join the war and focus entirely on those battles. Natsuki didn't know if his analysis was correct, but it was definitely worth monitoring. A major event like a Megakure declaring war would be known throughout the entire ninja world. But how to issue a warning was still a problem. Unless he had concrete evidence. Otherwise, he wouldn't be trusted and might even be suspected. Natsuki, are you going on missions during winter vacation? Kushina asked expectantly. Can you take me along? I'll ask teacher when the time comes. Natsuki considered for a moment. I'm going on missions too. Minato suddenly spoke. Who are your teammates? Natsuki asked curiously. 2 genin seniors. Their squad happens to be short a member. Minato explained. Being a ninja was a high-risk profession. A 3-man squad would often lose a member due to a mission. In such cases, they needed a replacement either from newly graduated genin or by merging with another incomplete squad. In the original story, Hitaki Kakashi, who had graduated years earlier, could still team up with Uchiha Obito and Nohara Rin because of this system. After the practical combat exam concluded, Ishida Yu announced the rankings for Class 3A's second semester finals. The top 3 remained Natsuki, Namikaze Minato, and Uzumaki Kushina. Everyone, see you next January. I hope you have a wonderful winter vacation. With Ishida Yu's final words, the students of Class 3A dispersed. At the Nara clan compound. The current head of the Nara clan was not Nara Shikaku, but his father Nara Shikatsu. Nara Shikatsu served as Konoha's Jonin commander. But he relied on intelligence, not raw strength. He had many responsibilities. One of them was analyzing information. Just now, he had received a report regarding Natsuki. Apparently, Natsuki had used a shadow technique during his battle with Namikaze Minato. Shikatsu's first reaction was that Orochimaru had violated Konoha's rules and taught Natsuki the Nara clan's secret jutsu. But after reviewing the details, he found the technique Natsuki used was unfamiliar. Did he create it himself? Shikatsu subconsciously clasped his hands together. Natsuki's genius had long spread throughout Konoha. Among the village's higher UPS, the rumors were even more detailed, such as Natsuki being capable of creating ninjutsu. Hiding oneself within a shadow can be used for ambushes and also to evade physical attacks. Shikatsu couldn't help but murmur. If the Nara clan could acquire it, our strength would rise to another level. After lengthy deliberation, he decided to speak with Natsuki directly. Meanwhile, after Natsuki, Kushina, and the others finished lunch, they headed to Orochimaru's residence. With winter vacation starting, he would have more time for training and missions. Natsuki drew the sword of the Thunder God. He had already learned Uchiha-style Kenjutsu and was now studying the Kenjutsu Orochimaru taught him. It had no formal name, Orochimaru had created it himself. In the original story, Uchiha Sasuke had also learned it. Not far away, Nawaki, or rather, 2 Nawakis were also training. His real body practiced taijutsu while his shadow clone worked on water release. It had taken him 2 semesters to learn the shadow clone jutsu. Natsuki still hadn't mastered it. His talent for learning ninjutsu was genuinely ordinary. But fortunately, he had grasped the fundamentals. By the end of winter vacation, he would likely succeed. Before long, there was a knock at the door. Natsuki paused and sheathed the sword of the Thunder God. He walked to the entrance and opened it. Outside stood an unfamiliar young ninja. Are you Natsuki? The man introduced himself. I am Nara Shikatsu. Shikaku is my son. I am Natsuki. Natsuki nodded. Clan head Shikatsu, are you here to see my teacher? No. I'm here to see you. Shikatsu spoke directly. The Nara clan can offer our existing shadow techniques in exchange for the ones you created. Natsuki raised an eyebrow. So he came for my shadow techniques. It had to be said his shadow jutsu were indeed well suited for the Nara clan. So, should I exchange them? Natsuki leaned toward agreeing. Because to him, the shadow techniques were simply abilities from character templates. He would acquire more templates and abilities in the future. Most importantly, the Nara clan possessed something he wanted, medicinal herbs. The Nara clan was Konoha's largest supplier of medicinal herbs. Natsuki's red healing potion, blood of god, and stamina recovery potion required many precious ingredients. He wouldn't hand those 2 formulas over to Konoha, so the village wouldn't provide him free herbs like they did for the blue healing potion. I don't want your clan's shadow techniques. Natsuki shook his head. If he acquired the Nara clan's jutsu, he would still have to learn them himself. Too troublesome. I want your clan to provide me with medicinal herbs free of charge. Natsuki stated his objective. Shikatsu was momentarily stunned. Medicinal herbs? He suddenly recalled something. Natsuki was close to Tsunade, and Yakushi Nono was Tsunade's student. Agreed. Shikatsu accepted without much deliberation. To the Nara clan, medicinal herbs were worldly goods. When depleted, they could be gathered or cultivated again. Shadow techniques were different, they were the foundation of their clan. The basis of their strength. As long as the Nara clan existed, there would be a steady supply of herbs. Chapter 46, A Megakure's Declaration of War. After Nara Shikatsu and Natsuki agreed on terms, he departed with the list of medicinal herbs Natsuki had provided. Between the red healing potion, Blood of God, and the stamina recovery potion, Natsuki chose to research the former first. The former required Hashirama cells or white Zetsu cells. The latter required tailed beast chakra and hero water. In terms of difficulty, the former was easier. Hashirama cells were readily available, he just needed Konoha's approval. Hero water was extremely difficult to obtain. Especially since Konoha and Takigakure were allies. Simply taking it would cause problems. Even stealing it would be hard. Takigakure was the only small ninja village besides the 5 great villages to possess both a tailed beast and a Jinchuriki. Tailed beast chakra was equally difficult. The current 9 tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Mito, was in poor health. It would be best to wait until Kushina became the new Jinchuriki. Although Hashirama cells were precious, Konoha had conducted Hashirama cell experiments twice in the original story. The first time was led by Sarutobi Hiruzen, considered legal and sanctioned. But because too many volunteer ninjas died, it was eventually halted. The second time was led by Shimura Danzo with Orochimaru participating, conducted in secret. Due to their more unscrupulous methods, that experiment yielded results producing a would-release ninja, Yamato. At this stage, the second experiment definitely hadn't started yet. Because Orochimaru hadn't turned rogue and collaborated with Danzo yet. But the first experiment might have already concluded, or perhaps it was currently underway. What a pity. Natsuki was too young right now. He wasn't qualified to access Hashirama cell experiments. But he could prepare in advance. That meant producing an incomplete version of the red healing potion, Blood of God, without Hashirama cells. Nara Shikatsu returned home. He opened the prescription Natsuki had given him and studied it. Every herb listed could be considered highly valuable. In all of Konoha, only the Nara clan could provide them. Of course, Natsuki had added 4 extra herbs to obscure his true intentions. Father. Nara Shikaku walked in. How did you do on the final exam? Seeing him, a smile appeared on Shikatsu's face. First place. Shikaku replied. Well done. Shikatsu nodded, then added, this winter vacation, I have a mission for you. Go to Natsuki and learn his shadow techniques. What? Shikaku looked up instinctively, his face full of surprise. What does he mean, go to Natsuki to learn shadow techniques? Natsuki was a year younger than him. Moreover, weren't shadow techniques unique to the Nara clan? Why would he learn from Natsuki? Natsuki created 2 shadow techniques himself. Shikatsu explained. I've already reached a deal with him. He will teach you both. Natsuki was, after all, too young. For adult ninjas like Shikatsu to learn from him would be too conspicuous or a blow to their pride. After consideration, he decided to send Shikaku instead. He was only a year older than Natsuki. He could pose as a friend training alongside him. Shikaku didn't know what to say. He was a genius himself, but was the gap between geniuses really this vast? Natsuki, a year his junior, had already created shadow techniques that the Nara clan valued? It sounded like fantasy. Yes, father. Shikaku snapped back to reality and responded immediately. The next day. At Orochimaru's residence, besides Noeki and Natsuki, there was now Nara Shikaku. Shikaku had high intelligence and knew his place well. He kept an extremely low profile. As long as he didn't encounter problems, he wouldn't disturb Natsuki, just silently training in the corner by himself. Natsuki also confirmed a hypothesis, his abilities could be taught to others. This was reasonable. After all, the abilities from character templates had all been localized. Essentially, they were ninjutsu. Natsuki received his initial payment from Nara Shikatsu. Enough medicinal herbs to produce 10 batches of the red healing potion, Blood of God. Natsuki wasn't in a rush to attempt production. His pharmaceutical skills were still lacking. Halfway through winter vacation, Uzumaki Kushina, who had gone to visit relatives in the Uzumaki clan, returned to Konoha. Right at that moment, an event that shocked the ninja world occurred. Hanzo of Omegakure simultaneously declared war on Uegakure, Tsunagakure, and Konoha. The reason? the three major villages had been fighting in the Land of Rain for years, bringing unimaginable disaster and loss to the country. As the military force of the Land of Rain, Omegakure intended to completely drive these three villages out. In Konoha's meeting room, a Jonin meeting was immediately convened. Hanzo is simply courting death. Shimura Danzo spoke with a livid expression. Konoha must strike first and make him understand the gap in strength. Taking the initiative is unnecessary. Jiraiya said gravely. If we prepare well and wait for the exhausted enemy at our ease, we can minimize losses. I disagree. Danzo objected. Omegakure and Hanzo are mere clowns. Only a swift, decisive battle will demonstrate Konoha's prestige. Although Omegakure is a small village, Hanzo should not be underestimated. Jiraiya frowned. Are you afraid of Hanzo? Danzo snorted coldly. Enough. I didn't summon you here to argue. Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped their dispute. He looked at Mitokado Homura and the others. What are your thoughts? The Land of Rain is currently a three-way free-for-all. If Konoha rashly joins, we risk being besieged. Tsunade spoke immediately. I agree with Jiraiya's assessment. Hearing this, Jiraiya shot her a winking smile. Tsunade ignored him completely. There is indeed a high probability of that outcome. Hokage advisor Mitokado Homura spoke up. Konoha is the strongest, making us the easiest target for other villages' apprehension. The other advisor, Udaten Koharu, nodded in agreement. Very well. Sarutobi Hiruzen concluded. Konoha will prepare first and hold our ground. As a precaution, we can send people to the border between the Land of Fire and the Land of Rain. Tsunade suggested. I can go. Danzo said immediately. With Tsunade and the others expressing their positions, taking the initiative was impossible. But he could make the impossible possible by stirring up trouble at the border and triggering the war early. The reason Danzo wanted war was that his route could develop through it. In wartime, intelligence warfare was paramount. Relying on ANBU alone, manpower was insufficient. Route had to be added. Then he would have plenty of room to maneuver. Sakumo will go. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at him and spoke decisively. He knew exactly what Danzo was thinking. Yes, Lord Hokage. A young ninja with white hair stood. Konoha's white fang Hotaki Sakumo. Hotaki Kakashi's father. The next day, Natsuki also received news of Hanzo's declaration of war, but it didn't concern him for now. Given his age and status, Konoha wouldn't send him to the battlefield unless circumstances became dire. Time advanced to January. Just when Natsuki thought winter vacation would end uneventfully, Orochimaru accepted a mission for them. The target is a group of rogue ninjas operating along the southeastern coast of the Land of Fire. Orochimaru explained. According to intel, their leader is a missing nin from Kirigakura Takubutsu Jonin skilled in water release. Hearing this, Natsuki's spirits lifted. Ability 3 of the Kamado Tanjiro template required defeating 3 Chunin or Takubutsu Jonin who excelled in Kenjutsu or water release. After 2 semesters of effort, he had completed 2/3 of the goal. Only 2 more Takubutsu Jonin remained. Teacher, can we bring Kushina along? Natsuki recalled Kushina mentioning she wanted to join missions. He asked. I can bring her, but only if Tsunade agrees. Orochimaru said softly. Chapter 47, The Key Ingredient Hashirama Cells. Konoha Hospital. Natsuki raised his hand and knocked on the door. After receiving permission, he walked into Tsunade's office. What is it? Seeing him, Tsunade set down the documents in her hand and stretched casually. The movement accentuated her figure, her clothes conforming to her contours. Natsuki was half her student, as well as Nawaka's friend and future teammate. There was no need for formality around him. With her personality, staying serious all the time was difficult anyway. Unless she encountered a major incident. Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki stated his purpose immediately. It's not suitable for Kushina to go on missions. Tsunade considered briefly and refused. Missions and visiting relatives were entirely different matters. Even a C-rank mission could encounter unexpected situations and escalate to A rank. If you're worried, Teacher Tsunade, you could come along. Natsuki wasn't surprised. He continued. Me too. Tsunade paused, mildly taken aback. Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki presented his reasoning. I've recently been researching a new healing potion. Its effect far exceeds the blue healing potion. Do you have the formula? Tsunade's expression immediately grew serious. Since its rollout, the blue healing potion had already played a significant role. According to rough statistics, the mortality rate of Konoha ninjas on missions had decreased considerably. If a more effective healing potion appeared, its significance would be self-evident. Moreover, the ninja world was unstable. With Hanzo of Omegakure declaring war, Konoha could be dragged into conflict at any moment. One more healing potion meant higher chances of winning the war. I do, but it's not complete yet. Natsuki stepped forward, produced the formula for the red healing potion, Blood of God, and said, I've attempted it several times. None succeeded. Tsunade took the formula and studied it. She soon frowned, falling into thought. Although she didn't know the specific effects of the red healing potion, Blood of God, she recognized these herbs and their uses. Simply combining herbs didn't necessarily bring out their full effects. It required finding the connections or reactions between them. Come. Let's go to the laboratory. Tsunade stood abruptly. Standing before her, Natsuki felt a shadow block him. He glanced up instinctively. Her heavily burdened clothes filled his vision. Tsunade impatiently dragged him toward Konoha Hospital's laboratory. Natsuki was still young. He couldn't match her long strides and had to jog to keep pace. Arriving at the laboratory, Tsunade began producing the medicine according to the formula. After some time, a vial of potion appeared in her hand. She took a sip and closed her eyes. It is indeed missing something. Tsunade spoke slowly. Logically, with so many precious herbs extracted, its effect shouldn't be poor. Instead, it has no effect at all. I believe it's missing a catalyst, or rather, an active medicinal component. Natsuki said pointedly. Active? That word is quite fitting. Tsunade agreed. Teacher Tsunade, I'm about to leave on a mission. Natsuki coughed lightly and changed the subject. I'll go with you. Tsunade glanced at him. You little brat. You're quite slippery, much sharper than the Waki. I'll take that as praise. Natsuki smiled. It is praise. Tsunade removed her gloves, flicked his forehead, and asked, when do we leave? Gather at the village entrance at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Natsuki replied. I'll bring Kushina and Nawaki on time. Tsunade nodded, then asked again, do you have anything else today? No. Natsuki paused. Do you need me for something, Teacher Tsunade? Naturally, to continue testing your formula. Tsunade smiled. Let's figure out what can be added to it. Yes, Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki nodded. The next day arrived. Although Natsuki and Tsunade had worked hard all day yesterday, every experiment had ended in failure. Natsuki. Uzumaki Kushina jogged up to him. She caught her breath, red strands of hair fluttering in the wind. Orochimaru. Tsunade, wearing a jonin flak jacket, approached with a broad smile. It's rare we get to do a mission together again. The three members of a ninja squad would automatically separate once they reached jonin. Unless it was an extremely difficult S-rank mission, there was no need for three jonin to act together. Moreover, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru were not ordinary jonin. The last time we worked together was 3 years ago. Orochimaru nodded. What a shame. With teacher and sister here, we should have taken an S-rank mission. Nawaki said with great regret. You three are doing the mission, not us. Tsunade glared at him. Don't aim too high. I know. Nawaki pouted. Let's go. After the pleasantries concluded, Orochimaru was first to walk out. Tsunade stepped forward, positioning herself at Natsuki's side. She had agreed to join for two purposes, protecting Kushina, and researching the red healing potion, Blood of God. At this point, she wasn't the drinking, gambling, wandering Tsunade from the original story. She was still active and still cared deeply about Konoha. Kushina wanted to speak but hesitated. She had originally planned to chat with Natsuki while traveling, but Tsunade had monopolized his attention. She couldn't understand the formulas the two were discussing. She could only follow behind them, sulking. Orochimaru listened to their conversation and soon showed an interested expression. Although he wasn't yet the mad scientist from the original story, he already possessed deep understanding of the human body and medicine. But he wasn't talkative. He simply listened and thought. The day passed quickly. Night fell. 2 tents were set up. Sleeping during a mission naturally couldn't be as comfortable as sleeping in the village. To handle unexpected situations and enemies at any moment, they slept in sleeping bags with their clothes on. After dinner, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Natsuki discussed the red healing potion, Blood of God again. Kushina sat beside Natsuki, feeling that going on missions wasn't all that great after all. Perhaps what's missing isn't an herb. Orochimaru suddenly spoke. Then what is it? Tsunade asked, confused. In the ninja world, what is the most active substance? Orochimaru asked in return. Hearing this, Tsunade showed a thoughtful expression. Yang release chakra. Orochimaru quickly provided the answer. Tsunade's heart jolted. She felt suddenly enlightened. Natsuki couldn't help but silently praise Orochimaru. He had easily identified the crux of the problem. Hashirama cells or white Zetsu cells as parts of a body were essentially Yang release chakra. Just a very special kind of Yang release chakra. Then I can try. Tsunade said immediately. When it came to Yang release chakra, as a medical ninja, she naturally didn't lack it. Chapter 48, Tsunade's hesitation. Tsunade had always been decisive and efficient. She immediately opened her storage scroll and retrieved a portion of medicinal herbs along with extraction equipment. After completing the step where all the herbs were extracted into essence, she extended her hand. A massive surge of Yang release chakra flowed into the herbal essence. But she quickly discovered a problem. There was a limit to how much Yang release chakra the essence could contain. When she could no longer infuse any more, Tsunade withdrew her hand. You infused approximately 1/10 of the chakra required for the mystical palm technique. Orochimaru estimated. The mystical palm technique was an A-rank medical ninjutsu with extremely high learning difficulty. Mastering it qualified one to be called a medical jonin. Its effects were comprehensive, capable of treating most internal and external injuries. It was only ineffective against injuries like missing limbs, being on the verge of death, or extensive organ damage. 1/10 of the mystical palm's effect. Although it's stronger than the blue healing potion, it's only marginally so. Tsunade sighed. If it's only slightly stronger, then promotion isn't worthwhile. Orochimaru shook his head. The cost is much higher. The investment wouldn't justify the return. Tsunade agreed. But the upper limit of Yang release chakra the essence can contain is fixed. Increasing it would be very difficult. Orochimaru frowned. Then is there an item that can contain a massive amount of Yang release chakra? Natsuki asked at the opportune moment. Tsunade subconsciously glanced down. Hidden against her snow-white skin was a necklace. A relic of Senju Hashirama. The necklace held a chakra crystal that sealed Senju Hashirama's chakra. A chakra crystal would work. Orochimaru also immediately thought of it. But they're too rare. There's only one in all of Konoha. A chakra crystal, as the name suggested, was chakra condensed into solid form. The reason for its rarity was simple. Aside from Senju Hashirama, finding a second ninja with that much chakra was nearly impossible. Not only Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru couldn't accomplish it, even Senju Tobirama would find it extremely difficult. Orochimaru suddenly paused. He thought of an item comparable to a chakra crystal, Senju Hashirama's cells. Because he had participated in the Hashirama cell experiment hosted by Sarutobi Hiruzen years ago. At the time, learning about Hashirama cells had greatly shocked him. He couldn't understand why a person's cells hadn't died despite so many years passing, instead possessing terrifying vitality. It was also this vitality that gave Konoha the idea of creating artificial wood-release ninjas. Simply put, it involved transplanting Hashirama cells into other ninjas. But it had succeeded because of vitality and failed because of vitality. The characteristic of Hashirama cells acting as if they were alive caused violent rejection in recipients' bodies. No one survived. What if Hashirama cells were added to the herbal essence? The essence wasn't human. Logically, it shouldn't clash with the cells. Moreover, the amount could be controlled. There was no need for an excessive quantity like in transplants, just a tiny bit would suffice. The only problem was whether Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade would agree. After all, Senju Hashirama was dead. Extracting his cells was tantamount to desecrating the deceased. The reason Konoha's Hashirama cell experiment had proceeded at all was due to Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade's agreement. Sarutobi Hiruzen had used the greater good of Konoha as justification, making them reluctantly accept. Could the red healing potion, Blood of God, reach such significance? Orochimaru was doubtful. Let me think if there's any item that can achieve this. Tsunade snapped back to reality. She hadn't immediately thought of Hashirama's cells, but her thinking ran parallel to Orochimaru's. If the red healing potion, Blood of God, proved effective enough, she could use the chakra crystal from the first Hokage's necklace. But there was a problem: once the chakra crystal was depleted, it wouldn't regenerate. However, she could first use a small portion to make a single vial to see if the effect was truly worthwhile. The crystal sealed a considerable amount of Senju Hashirama's chakra. One vial wouldn't cause significant loss. But there was no rush. She would first see if a substitute existed. Orochimaru nodded. I'll consider it as well. Hashirama's cells were too sensitive. Unless Tsunade brought it up herself, he wouldn't mention it. Although Natsuki felt it was unfortunate, he could guess Orochimaru's reasoning. If you don't say it, I won't either. Natsuki ended the discussion and went to train with Naoki and Kushina. A night passed without incident. The next day, the group continued their journey. At dusk, they finally arrived at the southeastern coast of the Land of Fire. This is my first time seeing the ocean. Naoki ran toward the beach with great excitement. The ocean is nothing special, Kushina said without interest. The land of whirlpools was surrounded by sea. She had seen far too much ocean since childhood. Natsuki had seen the ocean in his past life, but this was his first time in this one. Having lived 2 lives, though, he wasn't as excited as Naoki. He appeared calm. Tsunade glanced at Natsuki, then at Naoki, and shook her head. It was fortunate no enemies were nearby. Otherwise, Naoki's behavior was tantamount to courting death. He was ultimately too young and reckless. In contrast, Natsuki pleased her greatly. If he shared Naoki's personality, their squad's future would be truly worrisome. Begin executing the mission. After Naoki returned, Orochimaru spoke. Unless absolutely necessary, Tsunade and I will not actively intervene. Kushina, do you know sensory ninjutsu? Natsuki looked at her. Yes. Kushina nodded. Although the Uzumaki clan excelled most in sealing jutsu, their sensory techniques were also formidable. The mind's eye of the Kagura could even be called the strongest sensory ninjutsu in existence, surpassing the Byakugan. Of course, the current Kushina didn't know the mind's eye of the Kagura. Then let's locate our target first. Natsuki formed hand seals and summoned his crow, Kurobane. Naoki also summoned his ninja hound, Saburo. Sea, land, and air, they only lacked the sea. Natsuki felt he should find a summoning beast from the ocean. But aquatic summons were rare. He couldn't think of any he could contract with at the moment. Let's take this route. Natsuki produced a map. It has substantial cover for concealment, and it's not far from the beach. Good route selection. Tsunade glanced at it approvingly. Natsuki's group immediately began reconnaissance along the chosen path. Tsunade and Orochimaru followed from the shadows. But obviously, locating a roaming group of rogue ninjas was no simple task. Tsunade, bored as she trailed them, continued pondering the red healing potion, Blood of God. Suddenly, her gaze sharpened. Like Orochimaru, she thought of Hashirama cells. Hashirama cells contained a massive amount of chakra, perfectly meeting the requirements. But Tsunade began to hesitate. Turned out to be far more boring than she'd imagined. They had been completely empty-handed since yesterday afternoon. Kurobane spotted a group of rogue ninjas robbing a merchant ship on the sea to the south. Natsuki said immediately. Barring surprises, there are mission targets. This group of rogue ninjas was essentially pirates. And this sea was their territory. Logically, they wouldn't tolerate a second pirate force. Then let's go save them right now. Naoki said eagerly. With his personality, he definitely wouldn't miss an opportunity to intervene when witnessing injustice. There are only 3 of us. The best approach is to move quietly and launch a sneak attack. Natsuki considered for a moment. Leave the pirate leader to me. Naoki didn't argue. Natsuki was the strongest and possessed shadow assassin. He was the most suitable to handle the leader. Be careful. Kushina said quickly. You too. Natsuki dispelled his summon and hurried toward the merchant ship with Naoki and Kushina. Moments later, they sighted the vessel. 2 groups were fighting on the deck, but the specifics were obscured. Only screams could be heard. Because thick fog enveloped the merchant ship. This was Kirigakure's most classic technique, water release, hiding in mist. Its effect was creating dense fog to blind the enemy. Kirigakure ninjas learned the silent killing technique from childhood and could easily gain the upper hand in such conditions. Moreover, the pirate leader was a Takubutsu Jonin skilled in water release. In the ninja world, specific environments enhanced elemental ninjutsu. For example, a water release ninja's strength increased significantly near bodies of water. With water nearby, they didn't need to expend chakra creating it, they could simply manipulate existing water. Troublesome. Noeke felt annoyed. Wait here. Natsuki considered. The pirate leader most likely cast the hiding in mist technique. I'll take him out. He activated Water Spider. His body instantly sped across the sea at extreme velocity. Although one could walk on water using chakra, there was no speed enhancement. Arriving at the merchant ship, he immediately used Shadow Assassin. After boarding the deck, Natsuki surveyed his surroundings and quickly located the pirate leader. Although the fog blocked vision, making figures difficult to discern, he could sense chakra fluctuations. The strongest fluctuation was near the pirate leader. Natsuki approached cautiously. When close enough, he finally saw his target. A middle-aged man wearing a scratched Kirigakure forehead protector signifying his status as a missing nin. The one fighting him was also middle-aged, but clearly much weaker. He had sustained multiple injuries and couldn't hold on much longer. Natsuki didn't hesitate. He dispelled Shadow Assassin and gripped the sword of the Thunder God. Water breathing, third form flowing dance. He had originally considered using the Zoro template's abilities, but they were at sea. Water breathing was essentially water release and would receive an enhancement here. In the next instant, flowing water materialized around him. As his body moved, he swung the sword of the Thunder God toward the pirate leader's neck. A powerful sense of danger surged. Shock appeared on the pirate leader's face. However, he was a battle-hardened Takubutsu Jonin. His reaction was extremely fast. He spun and delivered a counter slash. Natsuki had already committed to his swing. Normally, changing direction would be impossible. But he was using water breathing, third form flowing dance. Its characteristic was launching attacks from multiple directions. The sword of the Thunder God suddenly turned, bypassing the pirate leader's slash and piercing his heart. Blood sprayed instantly. The pirate leader's eyes went wide. Filled with disbelief. Partly because of the sword's sudden directional change and partly because he had died at the hands of a child. The middle-aged man who had been fighting the pirate leader also froze. A deeply shocking scene had unfolded before him. A child who looked about 7 or 8 had run a Takubutsu Jonin through with a single strike. Am I under a genjutsu? The man asked instinctively. But the rapidly dissipating fog told him otherwise. With the pirate leader's death, the hiding in mist technique he had cast could no longer be maintained. What's going on? The boss is dead. That's impossible. As the fog cleared, the other rogue ninjas also spotted Natsuki and the pirate leader he had killed. I'm a ninja from Konoha. Natsuki immediately addressed the middle-aged man. Let's deal with them first. We can talk afterward. Right. The man, having survived disaster, spoke excitedly. Water breathing, second form water wheel. Natsuki leaped, attacking the nearest rogue ninja like a spinning water wheel. All that remained in the rogue ninja's sight was rotating water that resembled blade light. He looked down. His throat had been slit. Water breathing, first form water surface slash. Natsuki spun and swung the sword of the Thunder God. An arc-shaped blade of water sliced open another rogue ninja's head. With 4 Kakashi's worth of chakra, he wasn't afraid of consumption. He used the first 3 forms of water breathing freely and for a moment, heads rolled. Not only were the merchant ship's guards dumbfounded, even Kushina and Noeke, who had just boarded after seeing the fog dissipate, showed shocked expressions. Water release plus Kenjutsu? Tsunade asked, her face full of surprise. Did you teach him? Or did he create it himself? He created it himself. Orochimaru sighed. I knew he was learning water release from Noeke, but I didn't expect him to develop a complete ninteijutsu system. Being able to defeat a Takubutsu Jonin, this ninteijutsu isn't weak. At least B rank. Tsunade evaluated. Orochimaru smiled faintly, deeply satisfied. Natsuki always brings surprises. The battle's over. Let's go down. Tsunade nodded. With the pirate leader's death, the rogue ninjas collapsed like a landslide. They were dealt with quickly. I am the person in charge of this merchant ship. My name is Ryoichi. A middle-aged man approached. May I ask your esteemed names? Orochimaru. Orochimaru said casually. Tsunade. Tsunade also announced herself. You're the two legendary disciples of Lord Hokage from Konoha. Ryoichi's expression turned to shock. You know us? Tsunade was somewhat surprised. Although they were famous now, it was mainly within Konoha. I'm a merchant from the land of whirlpools. Ryoichi explained. I see. After speaking, Tsunade's eyes suddenly narrowed. She had noticed someone in the crowd whose expression had shifted unnaturally. Although it was only a fleeting moment before returning to normal, it hadn't escaped her eyes. Thank you all for your assistance. I'm willing to pay the reward for an A-rank mission. Ryoichi said conscientiously. All right. Tsunade didn't refuse. An A-rank mission would look good on Natsuki and the others' records. Besides, ninjas were essentially mercenaries. Since they had saved these people, they should collect the reward. My lords, please rest first. Ryoichi gestured. We'll clean up the ship. Orochimaru and Tsunade nodded. Led by Ryoichi, the group entered the cabin to rest. I noticed someone acting suspiciously. Tsunade said directly. His expression changed when he heard our names. And his strength isn't weak, probably Jonin level. This merchant ship is from the land of whirlpools. Natsuki's thoughts stirred. Could he be a spy who stole intelligence from the land of whirlpools or the Uzumaki clan? The reason he considered this was naturally because he knew the Uzumaki clan was about to be annihilated. But before any annihilation, intelligence gathering would be necessary. The Uzumaki clan wasn't some nobody, they were a major ninja clan on par with the Senju and Uchiha. Without adequate preparation, wiping them out overnight would be extremely difficult. As soon as Natsuki said this, everyone's expressions shifted, especially Kushina, who showed an anxious look. Chapter 50, Smoker Template. Since we encountered a suspicious person, we can't just let it go. Tsunade said without hesitation. By bloodline, she was half Uzumaki. Therefore, without Kushina needing to ask, she took this matter upon herself. Just to be safe, let's split up. Orochimaru considered. Tsunade, you monitor him to prevent escape. I'll ask Ryoichi about his background. What about us? Noeki immediately asked. He's a Jonin. It's not appropriate for you to participate. Wait for us in the cabin. Orochimaru shook his head. A Jonin with unknown intel is extremely dangerous. Even with both of us here, we might not be able to protect you. Tsunade added in agreement. All right. Although Noeki was reckless, he would still listen to Orochimaru and Tsunade. Natsuki actually wanted to join the action too. But having lived two lives, he understood the rule of safety first. Moreover, he had more important matters to attend to. Just now, a notification had appeared before his eyes. You have awakened the Smoker Template. Obviously, this was related to killing the rogue ninjas, essentially pirates at sea. Because Smoker was a character from One Piece. A marine, no less. Marines and pirates were opposing factions in that world. Natural mortal enemies. After Orochimaru and Tsunade left, Natsuki examined his newly acquired template. Name, Smoker. Era, Captain. World, One Piece. Rank, B rank. Ability 1, Logia type Plume Fruit unlocked. Effect, transform the body into smoke, gaining immunity to physical attacks. No longer vulnerable to seawater. Ability 2, White Smoke Bomb locked. Effect, transform the arm into smoke and expand its range to envelop the opponent, then thicken the smoke to trap the target. Unlock condition, learn water release, hiding in mist technique. Ability 3, White Blow locked. Effect, shoot thick smoke from the arm to impact the opponent. Upon contact, it can trap them like the White Smoke Bomb. Unlock condition, learn a control type ninjutsu. Ability 4, White Snake locked. Effect, shoot snake-like thick smoke from the arm to pursue the opponent until it hits and captures them. Unlock condition, capture a water release Takubitsu Jonin within the mist. Ability 5, White Vine locked. Effect, transform the body into a spiral column of smoke to trap enemies or capture airborne targets. Unlock condition, develop a new application of the Logia type Plume Fruit. After reading, Natsuki couldn't help but exhale with relief. He had previously worried that obtaining the Logia type Plume Fruit would also bring the weakness of fearing seawater. If so, the drawbacks would outweigh the benefits. Especially since this was the Naruto world with vast oceans and countless water release ninjas. In the future, if he encountered water release specialists at sea, he would be at an absolute disadvantage. Fortunately, the system had removed this weakness. Ability 1, Logia type Plume Fruit. Its effect was straightforward: his body could transform into smoke at any time. Since it was smoke, it naturally gained immunity to physical attacks. Physical attacks primarily involved ninja tools and taijutsu techniques ninjas used constantly in combat. Other ninjutsu yin release, fire release, wind release, ice release remained effective. But immunity to ninja tools and taijutsu alone was enough to give Natsuki a significant battlefield advantage. The remaining 4 abilities were all extensions of the Logia type Plume Fruit. Abilities 2, 3, and 4 were similar. The first involved transforming the arm into smoke, while the latter 2 involved shooting smoke from the arm. All 3 abilities trapped the target with smoke. The unlock condition for ability 2 was learning water release, hiding in mist technique. Natsuki's first thought, he could perfectly use hiding in mist as an excuse for his Logia type abilities. As for the other abilities, he could claim they were ninjutsu modified from hiding in mist. Although hiding in mist belonged to Kirigakuer, it was completely normal for different villages to learn each other's techniques. After all, when Konoha captured a Kirigakuer ninja, they would certainly conduct interrogation. Besides extracting intel, they would also obtain Kirigakuer ninjutsu. Hiding in mist was mandatory training in Kirigakuer. Obtaining it wouldn't be difficult. The unlock condition for ability 3 wasn't difficult either. Control type ninjutsu included genjutsu, he just needed to learn one. The unlock condition for ability 4 was more troublesome. It required capturing a water release Takubutsu Jonin within the mist. As everyone knew, capturing someone alive was twice as difficult as killing them. However, this condition could also conveniently unlock ability 3 of the Kamado Tanjiro template. After defeating the pirate leader today, he only needed one more water release or Kenjutsu Takubutsu Jonin to complete it. As for ability 5's unlock condition, it looked difficult but actually wasn't. Because Natsuki had a reference. In One Piece, Smoker later developed a new application of the Plume Fruit, White Launcher. Its effect was transforming the body into smoke and generating explosive recoil by shooting smoke outward, allowing rapid movement and flight. Honestly, in Natsuki's view, White Launcher was the most useful ability. After all, flight was an enormous advantage. All ninjutsu had range limitations. As long as one flew high enough, most ninjutsu became irrelevant, they simply couldn't reach. This was evident from Deidara's battle to capture Gaara in the original story. Besides Gaara himself, Tsunagakuer had absolutely no way to deal with Deidara. Their ninjutsu couldn't even hit him. This also proved something: if he could develop one new application, he could develop countless more. Meanwhile, Orochimaru found Ryoichi and described the suspicious person's appearance. "You're talking about Junpei." After hearing the description, Ryoichi recognized him. "What's his background?" Orochimaru nodded. "He has no background. He's just a crew member I recruited in the land of whirlpools," Ryoichi replied. Orochimaru fell into thought. The possibility of Junpei being a spy ninja had increased significantly. "Is your ship's destination the land of fire?" Orochimaru asked after a moment. "No," Ryoichi explained. "We departed from the land of whirlpools, are passing through the land of fire, and will eventually reach the land of water." "I understand. Thank you." After hearing this, Orochimaru immediately went to find Tsunade. "It seems he's most likely a Kirigakuer ninja." Tsunade narrowed her eyes. "Just capture him directly," Orochimaru said carelessly. A mere Kirigakuer ninja, they naturally wouldn't consider him a threat. Moreover, covert struggles between the 5 great villages had always existed. Ninjas died from time to time. Not to mention Junpei was a spy who couldn't see the light of day anyway. Chapter 51, Rescue the Uzumaki Clan. Natsuki and his companions didn't wait long. In less than half an hour, Tsunade and Orochimaru returned to the cabin with an unconscious middle-aged man. "What's the situation?" Noeki asked impatiently. "He's a spy ninja planted in the land of whirlpools by Kirigakuer. To avoid detection, he boarded a merchant ship to return to the land of water." Tsunade paused. "As for what intel he obtained, we'll have to let the Yamanaka clan handle it." "He's a jonin," Natsuki interjected. "Given his strength, the intel he obtained is definitely significant." That's what we thought too. Orochimaru agreed. Without further delay, let's leave immediately. Tsunade said. Natsuki and his companions naturally had no objections. After bidding farewell to Ryoichi, the group took Junpei and returned to Konoha. In the Hokage's office. After hearing Orochimaru and Tsunade's report, Sarutobi Hiruzen hurriedly summoned the Konoha Torture and Interrogation Force. The Torture and Interrogation Force was an organization run by the Yamanaka clan, specializing in extracting intel from enemy ninjas' minds. Worth noting, they could obtain intel even from the dead. In the ninja world, corpses could speak. Due to their special status, Natsuki and the others weren't dismissed. They stayed behind. Especially Kushina. She wouldn't have peace of mind without knowing what intel Junpei had obtained. Time passed slowly. After the Torture and Interrogation Force's efforts, they finally extracted the intel from Junpei's mind. Sarutobi Hiruzen took the scroll and read it. Soon, his expression became extremely grave. What's the intel? Seeing this, Tsunade couldn't help but ask. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't answer directly. He waved his hand. The Torture and Interrogation Force ninjas understood, bowed slightly, and departed. The intel Junpei transmitted back to Kirigakure is the topographical map and defense layout of the Land of Whirlpools. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke gravely. So Kirigakure really intends to move against the Uzumaki clan. Seeing her guess confirmed, Tsunade's heart jolted. Not just Kirigakure, Kumigakure as well. Sarutobi Hiruzen said slowly. This time, both villages are cooperating against the Uzumaki clan. Kushina let out a gasp. Although she didn't know much about Kirigakure and Kumigakure, she knew they were both among the 5 great shinobi villages. Their strength far exceeded that of the Land of Whirlpools and the Uzumaki clan. Why is Kumigakure involved too? Astonishment appeared on Tsunade's face. Orochimaru also looked surprised. Natsuki was somewhat surprised but not much. For the Uzumaki clan to be as renowned as the Senju and Uchiha, their strength was naturally formidable. It would be difficult for Kirigakure alone to silently wipe them out overnight. But with Kumigakure's addition, it could be done. For their sealing jutsu, only the Uzumaki clan's techniques can perfectly seal a tailed beast. Sarutobi Hiruzen tapped his pipe. And you know Kumigakure's style. Kumigakure had always been overbearing, frequently plundering secret techniques from smaller villages and clans. But because they didn't target the other 4 major villages, the rest turned a blind eye. They didn't dare act against the Uzumaki clan before because of Konoha. But now a great opportunity has presented itself. Orochimaru said calmly. Our attention is currently focused on the Land of Rain battlefield. By the time something happens to the Uzumaki clan, Konoha won't be able to retaliate. We can't possibly open a second front. Tsunade snorted coldly. They are truly shameless. Struggles between ninjas cannot be called shameless. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. Fortunately, you were lucky this time and accidentally discovered their plan. Teacher, what do you intend to do? Tsunade took a deep breath. We must rescue them. Sarutobi Hiruzen said without hesitation. If they didn't, they would offend Uzumaki Mito, Uzumaki Kushina, and Tsunade. The first 2 were Nine Tails Jinchuriki. The latter belonged to the Senju clan, which founded Konoha. Offending all of them would bring Konoha to the brink of collapse. After all, not rescuing them after obtaining intel and not rescuing them without intel were completely different situations. But how to rescue them requires discussion. Sarutobi Hiruzen added. I will lead a team. Tsunade said immediately. I agree. Orochimaru nodded. To avoid alerting the enemy, Kumigakure and Kirigakure won't send too many ninjas. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly, but as Hokage, he considered more factors. For example, obtaining certain rewards from this rescue operation. Repelling them once isn't hard. What's hard is permanently resolving this matter. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke seriously. Tsunade and Orochimaru showed thoughtful expressions. This was indeed a problem requiring consideration. How could one guard against thieves for 1,000 days? If the Uzumaki clan could relocate to Konoha, this problem would be solved. Sarutobi Hiruzen stated his goal. That's impossible. Tsunade said without thinking. The Uzumaki clan held supreme status in the Land of Whirlpools. How could they run to Konoha and live under someone else's roof? Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew it was impossible, so he proposed a second plan. Under the guise of exchange and learning, have the younger generation of the Uzumaki clan temporarily reside in Konoha. In case something happened to the clan, they could preserve some of their vital forces. And Konoha could help fortify the Uzumaki clan's defenses. If Kumigakure and Kirigakure attacked again, they could hold out longer, allowing Konoha to rescue them in time. After defeating Kumigakure and Kirigakure, you will present this plan to the Uzumaki clan. Sarutobi Hiruzen concluded. Yes, teacher. Tsunade considered and agreed. She couldn't think of a better plan for now. She could only leave the choice to the Uzumaki clan. What an old fox! Natsuki thought to himself. Sarutobi Hiruzen's goals were obvious. First, he wanted sealing jutsu and jinchuriki. Second, he could use the relocated Uzumaki members as leverage to partially control the clan. But this was an open scheme. The Uzumaki clan couldn't handle Kumigakure and Kirigakure alone. They could only rely on Konoha. Besides, although they were allies, Konoha couldn't help them for free. Resisting 2 of the 5 great villages would put immense pressure on Konoha. One wrong move, and they would be besieged on all sides. Precisely because of this, Tsunade guessed Sarutobi Hiruzen's goal but didn't refuse. Teacher. Teacher Tsunade. After leaving the Hokage's office, Natsuki asked. Can I go? I want to go too. Noeka said immediately. Me too. Kushina refused to be left behind. Why are you all joining in? Tsunade's face darkened. She glared. All of you go to school properly. Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki argued. My current strength is comparable to a Takebutsu Jonin. I won't hold you back. He wanted to go for 2 reasons. First, to unlock his character templates. Second, this situation seemed dangerous but actually wasn't that dangerous. Konoha already had the upper hand. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru were leading the team. If he encountered danger, they would definitely save him. Moreover, he now possessed life-saving abilities like Shadow Assassin and the Logia-type Plume Fruit. I'm going to broaden my horizons. Natsuki added. If it's really dangerous, I'll stay in the back and heal people. Just let him go. Orochimaru spoke up. What about me? Noeki asked, unwilling to accept this. Do you have Natsuki's strength? Tsunade asked bluntly. Noeki opened his mouth but ultimately had nothing to say. Seeing this, Kushina also fell silent. With her strength, she genuinely couldn't help. Chapter 52, The Approaching Mist and Cloud Ninjas. After Kushina and Noeki went home, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Natsuki arrived at ANBU headquarters. The situation was urgent. There was no time to rest, they had to act immediately. As one of the 5 great shinobi villages and the strongest once Konoha began operating, its speed was incredibly fast. Due to her relationship with the Uzumaki clan, Tsunade became the operations commanding officer. She issued many orders, but they could be summarized into 3 points. First, after controlling Junpei, have him return to Kirigakure. If Kirigakure discovered him missing, they would know their plan had been compromised. Whether they acted early, delayed, or cancelled the operation, none of those outcomes would benefit Konoha. Enemies hiding in the dark were the most terrifying. Second, have Uzumaki Mito write a letter and send it to the Uzumaki clan first. Although Konoha and the Uzumaki clan were allies, a group of ninjas entering the land of whirlpools without prior notice would be far too abrupt. Third, assemble the ninjas participating in this operation. To ensure success, the lowest rank Tsunade selected was Takebutsu Jonin. And this operation was classified as S rank. Upon successful completion, all participants would receive a handsome reward. After all orders were issued, Natsuki and Orochimaru arrived at the ANBU training grounds. This was the assembly point. Tsunade remained at ANBU headquarters to command and coordinate. Teacher. Having nothing to do while waiting, Natsuki asked, does Konoha have the water release, hiding in mist technique? You want to learn it? Orochimaru asked in return. Natsuki nodded. I think hiding in mist could be quite useful in many situations. To maximize its effectiveness, it must be combined with the silent killing technique. Orochimaru said calmly. The silent killing technique has an extremely high learning difficulty and is particularly time-consuming. No wonder water release ninjas from other villages rarely used hiding in mist, only Kirigakure employed it regularly. Natsuki smiled. I'm not learning the silent killing technique. I want to modify hiding in mist. Orochimaru's gaze instantly sharpened. He had forgotten that Natsuki, like Senju Tobirama, was a creator-type ninja. You already have ideas? Orochimaru asked instinctively. I already have 3. Natsuki held up 3 fingers. The smoker template had 5 abilities, but 3 were quite similar and could be classified as one concept. Orochimaru's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Didn't you just see hiding in mist for the first time a couple of days ago? How do you already have 3 ideas? Even if he and Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to create a ninjutsu, having 3 suitable concepts in 2 days would be impossible. Orochimaru suddenly understood the Hokage's feelings. Right now, he felt both surprised and gratified. Wait here. I'm going to the Hokage building. Orochimaru snapped back to reality and headed out. When he returned, he carried a ninjutsu scroll, the water release, hiding in mist technique. Natsuki took the scroll and began studying it. After all, ability 2 of the smoker template required learning this technique. Fortunately, hiding in mist wasn't difficult. Its learning difficulty was only D rank. While Natsuki waited and studied, ninjas gradually arrived at the training grounds. They were all notified by ANBU to participate in this mission. After greeting Orochimaru, they stood in place and waited. But many gazes fell on Natsuki. He was the only child present extremely conspicuous. They all guessed his identity, most likely Orochimaru's student, Natsuki. But letting a third-year child participate in an S-rank mission? Time passed slowly. More ninjas gathered until Tsunade and Jiraiya arrived. Ninjas from the Inyazuka, Abarame, and Hyuga clans will handle reconnaissance. Tsunade walked to the front and ordered. For this operation, we must ensure we arrive without alerting any enemy ninjas. The Inyazuka clan had ninja hounds. The Abarame clan had insects. The Hyuga clan had the Byakugan. All 3 were natural sensory specialists. Yes. Everyone answered in unison. Move out. With a wave of her hand, Tsunade leaped into the air. The group followed toward the Land of Whirlpools. The Land of Whirlpools was located between the Land of Fire and the Land of Water, a small peninsular country. It had a unique characteristic: the daimyo of the Land of Whirlpools was also from the Uzumaki clan. Normally, the ninja world followed the one village per country system. A country's daimyo nominally commanded the village's ninjas. The Land of Whirlpools was an exception. This indirectly demonstrated the Uzumaki clan's strength. And the emergence of Jinchuriki had made the Uzumaki clan's sealing jutsu famous throughout the ninja world. Possessing a treasure invites trouble. This made them a target for Kumigakuer and Kirigakuer. If Kumigakuer was purely after sealing jutsu, Kirigakuer had additional motivations. If Kirigakuer wanted to attack Konoha, they couldn't bypass the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki clan served as Konoha's bridgehead against Kirigakuer. Eliminating them would remove one obstacle. 2 days later, Natsuki and the others successfully arrived in the Land of Whirlpools. The first head of the Uzumaki clan was named Uzumaki Ashina. He had been close friends with Senju Hashirama, forming an alliance with the Senju clan. Senju Hashirama had even married Uzumaki Mito and incorporated the Uzumaki clan's crest into Konoha's symbol. The current clan head was Uzumaki Ashina's son, Uzumaki Keisuke. Clan head Keisuke, it's been too long. Tsunade greeted him with a smile. Welcome. Keisuke sighed. If not for your timely warning, we wouldn't have known disaster was imminent. The Uzumaki clan and Konoha are allies. This is what we should do. Tsunade paused. Let's end the pleasantries here. We must make arrangements as quickly as possible. You're right. Keisuke nodded. He quickly organized matters. He had the other Konoha ninjas rest while taking Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade to the meeting hall. Although Natsuki was Orochimaru's student, he was young and had traveled for 2 days. He was already exhausted and didn't participate. After eating, he fell into deep sleep. In the afternoon, the Uzumaki clan became busy. But to avoid alerting the enemy, only a small number of trusted ninjas took action. Their tasks consisted of 2 parts. One was establishing defensive barriers. The other was setting traps. Natsuki naturally didn't need to participate. He stayed in his room, studying the hiding in mist technique. However, he didn't study for long. A week later, in the dead of night, the Hyuga ninjas stationed by the sea detected approaching Kumigakuer and Kirigakuer forces. Chapter 53, The 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist. Under the night sky, Tsunade and the others waited not far from the Uzumaki clan compound. The land of whirlpools was large. Kumigakure and Kirigakure could approach from any direction. Fortunately, the enemy had already been moved from darkness into light. As long as arrangements were made properly, they could anticipate the attack direction in advance. My lords, Kumigakure and Kirigakure are approaching the southeast of the land of whirlpools. Expected landing in 5 minutes. A figure suddenly appeared, the Hyuga ninja responsible for reconnaissance. As expected. Uzumaki Keisuke said immediately. The southeast is a cliff. Defense there is usually weakest. Clan head Keisuke, we'll leave the compound to you. We'll intercept the Kumigakure and Kirigakure forces. Tsunade nodded. Although a barrier had been established around the compound, without powerhouses holding the position, a barrier alone was far from sufficient. I leave it to you all. Keisuke bowed slightly. Tsunade didn't say more. She led the group toward the southeast. Worth noting, besides Konoha ninjas, many Uzumaki clan ninjas accompanied them. Although the Uzumaki clan excelled in sealing jutsu, to have survived in the ninja world for so many years, they couldn't possibly know only sealing techniques. Soon, the group arrived at their position. Get ready. Tsunade raised her hand. When they trigger the traps, we strike during the confusion. Everyone nodded silently and found their hiding spots. Natsuki climbed a tree and glanced at the moonless sky. He couldn't help but sigh. Truly a dark and windy night, perfect for killing. Especially since his shadow assassin thrived in such conditions. A moment later, fog suddenly appeared in the distance. It spread rapidly, soon enveloping everyone and advancing toward the Uzumaki compound. Without needing to guess, they knew this was Kirigakure's water release, hiding in mist technique. Tsunade and the others didn't panic. After a while, deafening explosions rang out. Flames shot skyward, illuminating half the night and dispersing much of the fog. Natsuki looked up and saw Kumigakure and Kirigakure ninjas screaming amid the traps. The preparations made by Konoha and the Uzumaki clan had played a significant role. Damn it! An angry voice rang out. Our intel has leaked. Everyone, retreat! Natsuki instinctively looked toward the speaker. He was extremely fat, resembling an Akimichi clan ninja. But his most striking feature was his long orange hair, nearly touching the ground. Sukazan Fugyuki, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist? Natsuki's thoughts stirred. He examined the peculiar sword in the man's hand covered in spikes. The great sword Samehada. Besides the third Mizukage, the strongest ninjas in Kirigakure were the 7 ninja swordsmen. It was natural for them to oversee a major operation like annihilating a clan. Then what about Kumigakure? Natsuki scanned the area but didn't spot the 3rd or 4th Raikage. The characteristics of successive Raikage were obvious: all burly, muscular men. But he had no time to identify individuals. The battle had already begun. Konoha and the Uzumaki clan had laid an inescapable net. They naturally wouldn't let the enemy retreat. Tsunade leaped into the air and plummeted down. Heavenly foot of pain. With her as the center, the ground cracked open. Countless pieces of rubble flew in all directions. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. Bastard! Seeing this, Sukazan Fugyuki gripped Samehada and hacked at her like an axe. But the moment he swung, he sensed danger. Orochimaru appeared at his side. He opened his mouth. The Kusanagi sword flew out like a kunao, aiming at Fugyuki's head. Fugyuki had to pull back to defend. Fire release, dragon fire technique. Jiraiya formed hand seals. A wildly dancing fire dragon charged into the crowd. Many Kumigakure ninjas were instantly reduced to ash. The sound of tearing air rang out. A slender Kirigakure Anbu ninja appeared behind Jiraiya. He held a special blade resembling an elongated senbon. Kushimaru Kuriarari, another of the 7 ninja swordsmen. His weapon was the long sword Nuibari. Shadow Assassin. While the others fought fiercely, Natsuki vanished from his spot. He headed straight for his chosen target, a Kirigakure Takubutsu Jonin using water release. The Takubutsu Jonin was engaged with a Konoha ninja. Natsuki's shadow slipped behind him. He seized the moment, dispelled Shadow Assassin, drew the sword of the Thunder God, and delivered a slash. One sword style, Horse Demon. The blade cut from his back down to his lower body. The sudden, intense pain made him scream. The Konoha ninja froze momentarily but reacted quickly, spitting out a wind blade that struck the enemy's heart. Natsuki twisted his wrist, raised the sword of the Thunder God, and thrust it in again, completely ending the man's life. After the kill, he activated Shadow Assassin once more. As expected of Lord Orochimaru's student. After recovering, the Konoha ninja couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. When he had first seen Natsuki participating in this mission, he assumed the boy was just padding his resume. He hadn't expected such strangely formidable strength. Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Kamado Tanjiro Template Ability 3, Water Breathing 4th Form, 5th Form, 6th Form. Excellent! The requirement of defeating 3 Chunin or Takebutsu Jonin who excelled in water release or Kenjutsu had been completed. Natsuki nodded in satisfaction. His next goal was capturing a water release Takebutsu Jonin alive to unlock Ability 4 of the Smoker template. On this chaotic battlefield, accomplishing that wouldn't be difficult. He planned to do it when the battle neared its end. He glanced around and quickly selected his next opponent. Because he spotted an acquaintance in Yazuka, currently locked in a bitter struggle. In the original story, he had been Namikaze Minato's teammate. But he was older, looking around 17 or 18 now. Natsuki's shadow arrived behind the Kirigakure Takebutsu Jonin fighting him. Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet. The Kirigakure Takebutsu Jonin formed hand seals. A water dragon surged toward Inyazuka. This is bad. Gaku thought to himself. Was he going to die here today? Suddenly, his vision went dark. A giant pot blocked his front. The water dragon crashed into it, instantly sending it flying backward. Although the pot didn't do much, it bought him time. He used the body flicker technique without hesitation. The Kirigakure Takebutsu Jonin instinctively looked toward the pot's origin and spotted Natsuki. The pot had been created using projection magecraft. He couldn't help but pause. In a battle filled with Takebutsu Jonin and Jonin, the sudden appearance of a child naturally seemed strange. But just as the thought arose, he fell into a daze. Fox magic. After casting the genjutsu, Natsuki immediately gripped the sword of the Thunder God. Water breathing, 6th form whirlpool. His body spun suddenly. A stream of water formed a whirlpool around him along with the blade. Just as the Kirigakure Takebutsu Jonin broke free from the genjutsu, he felt himself flying. Within the whirlpool, his body was severed at the waist, split in half. Watching the entire sequence, Inyazuka felt completely dumbfounded. Genjutsu? Kenjutsu? Water release? An 8-year-old child had actually used so many techniques in an instant? Gaku felt as if he were dreaming. Chapter 54, Killing a Jonin. After finishing off the Kirigakure Takebutsu Jonin, Natsuki nodded at Inyazuka and activated Shadow Assassin again. In the midst of battle, there was no time for conversation. He immediately sought his next target. Under the cover of night, combined with Shadow Assassin's unpredictability, it was difficult for any ninja below Jonin level to react. But after killing 3 Takebutsu Jonin and 5 Chunin in succession, Natsuki finally attracted attention. Brat! A piercing sound of wind rang out. Natsuki had just dispelled Shadow Assassin and was preparing to kill the Kumigakure Chunin before him when he instantly sensed danger. Water breathing, 2nd form water wheel. His body spun. He delivered a rotating slash with the sword of the Thunder God at the enemy behind him. Clang! The blade struck a large sword resembling an axe. Natsuki felt his entire body tremble. He was forced to retreat backward. Seems my luck is good. I've encountered a super genius. The owner of the large sword was a young ninja wearing a helmet. After seeing Natsuki block his strike, he looked both surprised and excited. Strangling an enemy village's genius in the cradle was something worth celebrating. Natsuki recognized him immediately. Akabino Jinin, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. His weapon was called the blunt sword, Kabutori. Although classified as a ninja sword, it was actually an axe and hammer combination. Die! Jinin grinned sinisterly and raised the hammer in his right hand. The hammer smashed onto the back of his axe blade. An irresistible force transmitted down toward Natsuki. Gravity mitigation. Natsuki didn't choose to meet him head-on. In an instant, he pushed his speed to the limit. He withdrew the sword of the Thunder God and retreated like a ghost. With the force missing its target, Jinin instantly felt uncomfortable. But as a Jonin, his speed was no slower than Natsuki's. He stomped fiercely on the ground. As it cracked beneath him, his entire body gave chase. Before even getting close, he threw his axe. The end was connected to his hammer by a chain. Water breathing, fourth form striking tide. Natsuki gripped the sword of the Thunder God with both hands and swung a frontal strike capable of shattering waves. The axe was struck by his blade and instantly flew back. What a formidable brat! Seeing this, Jinan became even more excited. Given Natsuki's age and strength, he was definitely a heavily cultivated genius in Konoha. If he could kill him, it would be severing a pillar of Konoha's future. Jinan caught the returning axe with quick hands. A flick of his wrist dissipated the force. Simultaneously, he used the body flicker technique to appear in front of Natsuki. The axe tore through the air, aimed straight at his head. Projection Magecraft. A thick, heavy black pot materialized in front of Natsuki. Jinan sneered and smashed his hammer onto the back of the axe. The projected pot was instantly split in half. But Natsuki, who had been behind it, had vanished. Jinan immediately looked at the ground and sure enough, saw a moving shadow. Without a word, he smashed both axe and hammer down. Boom! The ground cracked and turned to pulverized rubble. Jinan blinked and saw a sharp blade of light coming toward him. His heart tightened. At the critical moment, he instinctively leaned left. The blade light missed. Natsuki appeared before him. Jinan swung his axe without hesitation. What a pity! Natsuki thought to himself. His lion's song hadn't worked. The reason, Jinan had already seen Shadow Assassin and was prepared. The black pot appeared again. Natsuki used the opportunity to widen the distance. Jinan touched his right cheek. He could still vaguely feel that sharp blade light. If his reaction hadn't been fast, if he hadn't known about Shadow Assassin, he definitely would have been injured. A genius like you absolutely cannot be allowed to live. Gripping his axe, Jinan charged forward again. Natsuki raised the sword of the Thunder God to meet him. For a moment, blade lights splashed everywhere. But Natsuki was at an absolute disadvantage. Whether in strength or speed, he was inferior to Jinan. In Kenjutsu, relying on water breathing, he could barely hold his ground. His only advantage was Shadow Assassin, which allowed him to avoid several fatal crises. However, this sole advantage didn't last long. Jinan was a Jonin, after all. Becoming a Jonin meant mastering at least 2 chakra natures. He quickly discovered Shadow Assassin's weakness. Jinan seized an opportunity and suddenly accelerated. After arriving in front of Natsuki, he chopped down with his axe. Clang! Natsuki blocked with the sword of the Thunder God. Jinan wasn't surprised. He immediately released both hands. His hammer and axe flew out simultaneously. The chain between them pulled taut, wrapping toward Natsuki like a rope. Gravity mitigation. Natsuki leaped, avoiding the chain. Water release, water prison jutsu. Right at that moment, Jinan formed hand seals and extended his hand. A stream of water quickly enveloped Natsuki. His body stiffened. He couldn't move. Can you still meld into shadows now? Jinan asked smugly. He maintained the water prison with his right hand while swinging his left to catch the returning axe. The axe fell. Water splashed everywhere. The prison shattered first and Natsuki was freed. But the axe was already upon him. He had no time for any technique, including Shadow Assassin. A smile appeared on Jinan's face. He could already see Natsuki's blood spurting before his eyes. But in the next second, his axe struck nothing but smoke. What? Jinan's expression froze. He had no idea what had just happened. The smoke Natsuki had transformed into slipped away from his axe and immediately recondensed. He raised his hand without hesitation. Phantom blow. Jinan felt dizzy and fell into a stiff state on the spot. He was a Jonin. He broke free in just an instant. But by the time he regained consciousness, his vision was filled with blade light. He clutched his neck instinctively. A massive amount of blood spurted from between his fingers. His face was full of disbelief. Having traversed the ninja world for years, he had never expected to die like this. With his eyes wide open, he collapsed. Even until his final moment, he didn't close them. This was probably what they called dying with a grievance. Natsuki dropped to the ground, panting heavily. He felt like he had just survived a disaster. It was that saying again, ninja battles are information battles. Jinan had guarded against Shadow Assassin but not the Logia-type plume fruit. Just when he thought victory was assured, Natsuki used the plume fruit to complete the counter kill. Chapter 55, capturing Sokazan Fugyuki alive. How is this possible? Sokazan Fugyuki noticed the dead Akabino Jinin. His eyes nearly split open with rage. Orochimaru, who was fighting him, couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The current Sokazan Fugyuki somewhat countered him. First, his strength hadn't reached its peak yet. Second, he was wary of the great sword Samehada. Although Samehada was called a sword, it was actually a special living organism. It possessed its own consciousness and could absorb the target's chakra. Because of this astonishing effect, ninjas fighting Sokazan Fugyuki often appeared timid and restrained. Orochimaru subconsciously glanced at Natsuki. A question surfaced in his mind: how did Akabino Jinin die? Sokazan Fugyuki didn't lose his reason over Jinin's death. He scanned the area and shouted, "Everyone, retreat!" Although the Kumigakure and Kirigakure ninjas were elites, they had fallen into traps first and an ambush second. They had suffered heavy losses long ago. Konoha and the Uzumaki clan, waiting for the exhausted enemy at their ease, completely held the upper hand. Actually, Fugyuki had called for retreat at the very beginning, but at that time, they had only fallen into traps and still retained most of their strength. The Kumigakure ninjas in particular had always acted overbearingly. They were unwilling to retreat without a fight. But the situation was completely different now. If they didn't retreat, their entire force would be wiped out. After shouting, Fugyuki immediately formed hand seals. Water release, hiding in mist technique. A massive amount of chakra transformed into fog, permeating the surroundings. The other Kirigakure ninjas also used hiding in mist one after another. Disperse the fog. They're trying to escape. Tsunade immediately ordered. But there was too much fog. It couldn't be cleared quickly. Taking advantage of this, the Kirigakure and Kumigakure ninjas scattered and fled. Natsuki stood up instinctively. His fight with Akabino Jinin had only left him mentally exhausted, not drained of chakra. 4 Kakashi's worth of chakra wasn't that easy to deplete. He didn't have to keep fighting. But he still needed to capture a Takebutsu Jonin alive to unlock his smoker template. He looked around and quickly found a target. Phantom blow. Natsuki raised his hand. A shockwave struck a Takebutsu Jonin. This Kirigakure Takebutsu Jonin was moving at high speed. He completely didn't expect a sudden ambush. He instantly fell into a daze. Gravity mitigation. Reinforcement magecraft. Natsuki burst forth at full speed, arriving before him in a flash. Golden right foot. Just as the Takebutsu Jonin regained consciousness, he was kicked and sent flying. Head chef dead weight. Natsuki leaped up. His entire body crashed into the man. The Takebutsu Jonin was knocked completely unconscious. Congratulations, host. You have unlocked Smoker Template ability 4, White Snake. Natsuki nodded. Job done. He turned and looked deep into the dense fog. He could hear the sounds of fierce combat. Although the fog was highly disadvantageous to most non-Kirigakure ninjas, Orochimaru, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and the others were still fighting. Shadow Assassin. Natsuki made a decision and submerged into the shadows. If he were alone, he definitely wouldn't dare seek out Sokazan Fugyuki. But 2 against 1, the advantage was his. After entering the dense fog, his vision was obstructed. But as long as he was close enough, he could roughly make out his target. Natsuki arrived behind Fugyuki and leaped up. Water breathing, 4th form striking tide. Blade light carrying water flow poured out entirely. Because Fugyuki held a slight advantage in his fight with Orochimaru, he noticed the attack. Hair needle senbon. His hair suddenly scattered. A large number of strands detached and shot out like kunai. Natsuki's gaze sharpened. His sword strike only cut a portion of the hair. The remaining strands enveloped him. Shadow Assassin. At the critical moment, Natsuki vanished into the shadows again. Orochimaru frowned. He hadn't expected Natsuki to come running over to join this fight. But now wasn't the time for blame. He swung his sword without hesitation. Clang! Fugyuki blocked his Kusanagi sword with Samehada. Wind release, great breakthrough. Orochimaru formed a one-handed seal and blew a fierce gust from his mouth. While dispersing the fog, the wind struck toward Fugyuki. But Fugyuki leaped backward, using the fierce wind to widen the distance. He didn't want to continue fighting. If he didn't retreat now, once the others escaped, he would be trapped like a turtle in a jar. Projection magecraft. Natsuki reappeared, his hands moving continuously. In an instant, a large number of kunao flew toward Fugyuki in mid-air. Courting death. Fugyuki snorted coldly. Thinking of the dead Jinan, he immediately plummeted from the sky. Same hata in his hand acted like a hammer, deflecting the incoming kunao and aiming straight for Natsuki. Shadow Assassin. Natsuki repeated his old trick, melding into the shadows. Boom. Same hata smashed into the ground. The ground cracked, but Natsuki's shadow remained unscathed, rapidly fleeing outward. Immune to physical attacks. As one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Fugyuki naturally had extraordinary experience. Coupled with Natsuki using Shadow Assassin multiple times in quick succession, he noticed its characteristic. A piercing sound of wind rang out. An invisible blade struck toward Fugyuki at extreme speed. Orochimaru's wind release, wind cutter technique. Body flicker technique. After dodging the wind blade, Fugyuki immediately placed Same hata on his back and formed hand seals. Time was urgent. Orochimaru was no longer his target. His current thought was to quickly kill Natsuki, then retreat. Water release, water dragon bullet. The roaring sound of water echoed with Fugyuki at the center. Water shot skyward, transforming into a ferocious dragon. The water dragon, containing terrifying impact force, accelerated instantly, biting toward Natsuki's shadow. Right at that moment, Natsuki suddenly dispelled Shadow Assassin. He forcefully threw a smoke bomb. As smoke permeated the air, the water dragon crashed into the ground and exploded. The ground cracked. Water splashed everywhere. There was no corpse within the residual smoke, only a wooden log. Substitution jutsu. Astonishment appeared on Fugyuki's face. The essence of the substitution jutsu was leaving a wooden log to confuse the enemy. But it wasn't space-time ninjutsu. The user couldn't vanish into thin air. As for Shadow Assassin, Fugyuki saw clearly that there was no shadow nearby. He had no time to think carefully. Orochimaru's attack had already arrived. Clusters of bullet-like wind release waves enveloped him. Fugyuki immediately grabbed Same hata, turned, and swung. But what he didn't see was that the residual smoke from the bomb was slowly drifting toward him. Orochimaru, no need to see me off. Next time we fight, I will definitely take your head. After dealing with Orochimaru's wind release, vacuum serial waves, Fugyuki prepared to leave. Although he really wanted to kill Natsuki, this brat's abilities were too strange. He couldn't handle him quickly. Right at that moment, a powerful sense of crisis surged in his heart. He instinctively looked down and saw a stream of smoke wrapping around his entire body, starting from his feet, like a white snake. What is this? Fugyuki's expression changed drastically. He couldn't move. Teacher! Natsuki shouted urgently. Orochimaru didn't need the reminder to know this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He formed hand seals without hesitation. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. He didn't use ninjutsu because he was worried it would be absorbed by Same hata. But the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu wouldn't be. A sky full of shuriken enveloped Fugyuki. In an instant, miserable screams rang out. Blood spurted wildly. However, Orochimaru avoided Fugyuki's vital spots. The reason was simple. Capturing him alive was more valuable. Orochimaru subconsciously looked at Natsuki. Surprise appeared on his face. Because at this moment, Natsuki's arm was continuously spewing thick smoke. And the white snake that had wrapped around Fugyuki came precisely from that smoke. This was the ninjutsu he created by modifying hiding in mist. Orochimaru felt a sense of absurdity. Hadn't he just given Natsuki the water release, hiding in mist technique a week ago? Chapter 56, Heroic Spirit Emiya Template. With Sukazan Fugyuki's capture, the battle over the Uzumaki clan's annihilation came to an end. Without a doubt, it was a major victory for Konoha and the Uzumaki clan. Although many were injured or killed, the results achieved made it worthwhile. Only a fifth of the attacking Kumigakure and Kirigakure forces managed to escape. The remaining 4/5 were either dead or captured. The smoke cleared. Under Tsunade's orders, the ninjas of Konoha and the Uzumaki clan began cleaning up the battlefield. You and your student have taken the greatest merit this time. Jiraiya walked up, glanced at Sukazan Fugyuki, and said, Orochimaru, you beat me to it again. Among the ninjas from both attacking villages, in terms of strength and fame, Sukazan Fugyuki ranked first. Capturing him alive was the greatest achievement. I just rode on Natsuki's coattails. Orochimaru said casually. Hey! Because Jiraiya had been focused on his own battle and hadn't watched Orochimaru and Natsuki's fights, he didn't know what had happened. It was mainly teacher's merit. Natsuki said modestly. I know my own strength. Orochimaru shook his head. Without your intervention, Sukazan Fugyuki would most likely have escaped. I was only able to contribute thanks to the water release, hiding in mist technique you gave me, teacher. Natsuki said. Is that the ninjutsu you just used? Orochimaru asked curiously. What's it called? I call it White Snake. Natsuki replied. Its effect is releasing a stream of smoke to trap the target. Being able to temporarily immobilize Sukazan Fugyuki. White Snake is at least B rank. Orochimaru sighed. To think you modified the D rank hiding in mist technique into a B rank ninjutsu. Truly unbelievable. After hearing the conversation, Jiraiya roughly grasped the situation. Because Natsuki had trapped Sukazan Fugyuki with White Snake, Orochimaru was able to capture him alive. No wonder Minato loses to you every time. Jiraiya couldn't help but complain. How can someone create ninjutsu faster than they learn it? Natsuki also killed Akabino Jinin single-handedly. Orochimaru added. After this battle, the one whose fame grows fastest probably won't be us but Natsuki. Jiraiya's mouth twitched. I just had the advantage of self-created ninjutsu. Natsuki explained. Akabino Jinin didn't know my abilities. He died to techniques he'd never seen. Being able to create ninjutsu is itself a manifestation of strength. Orochimaru patted his shoulder. Keep it up. Yes, teacher. Natsuki nodded. You really found a student who suits you perfectly. Seeing this, Jiraiya laughed loudly. It's rare to see you value someone so much. He knew Orochimaru's dream was to learn all ninjutsu. Natsuki's talent for creating ninjutsu could be considered an extension of that dream. But Minato isn't bad either. Jiraiya said confidently. He has the talent to learn a special ninjutsu. When the time comes, it'll be very difficult for you to win again, Natsuki. Natsuki knew he was referring to the Flying Thunder God technique. Honestly, he hoped Namikaze Minato would learn it soon. Who knew it might help him trigger a character template related to spatial abilities? Natsuki's thoughts suddenly stirred. With such formidable combat results today, why wasn't there a new character template? You have awakened the heroic spirit Emiya template. Emiya Shiro who became a heroic spirit? Emiya? Natsuki's spirits jolted. He quickly examined his newly acquired template. Name, Emiya Shiro. Era, 5th Holy Grail War Archer Class Servant. World, Fate/Stay Night. Rank, S rank. Ability 1, Clairvoyance unlocked. Effect, as an Archer Class Servant, can accurately lock onto targets within several kilometers, achieving ultra-long range strikes. Ability 2, Independent Action locked. Effect, will not die immediately upon chakra depletion, can burst forth with a certain amount of chakra. Unlock condition, using a bow as a ninja tool, obtain first place in the practical combat of a final exam. Ability 3, Projection Magecraft locked. Effect, by consuming a corresponding amount of chakra, projected ninja tools can be infinitely close to the originals. Unlock condition, project 7 famous ninja tools. Ability 4, Broken Phantasm locked. Effect, use a projected ninja tool as a one-time bomb, detonating all the energy contained within it. Unlock condition, break a famous ninja tool in combat. Ability 5, Unlimited Blade Works locked. Effect, materialize the inner world to erode reality, deploying a reality marble or special space. Any weapon the user has seen and can recognize can be instantly copied, stored, and modified within the reality marble. Unlock condition, prevent a war. Natsuki subconsciously clenched his fists. It's here. The unlimited blade works he had been longing for. Natsuki had previously obtained the Emiya Shiro template but that was the high school freshman version, who didn't possess unlimited blade works. Now that he had obtained the Emiya template, he finally had it. Placed in the Naruto world, unlimited blade works was undoubtedly S rank. Its effects were no worse than the dojutsu of a Mangekyo Sharingan. Of course, the unlock condition was equally extraordinary, requiring him to prevent a war. However, this fit Emiya's persona. He was an ally of justice and a counter-guardian, preventing the world's destruction both in life and death. Looking at it this way, he had unlocked the Emiya template not only because of the 7 ninja swordsmen but also because he had prevented the destruction of the land of whirlpools. Preventing a war had two meanings. One was stopping a war before it happened. The other was stopping an ongoing war. Natsuki fell into thought. It seemed he would have to unlock unlimited blade works during the Second Shinobi World War. Besides unlimited blade works, the other four abilities were also excellent. Ability 1, Clairvoyance. Its effect was equivalent to the Byakugan without X-ray vision, a highly useful sensory ability. In combat, it could also maximize the utility of a bow. Ability 2, Independent Action. Although not normally used, when facing enemies of equal or slightly greater strength, it could reverse the tide of battle. Its unlock condition wasn't too difficult either. The only restriction was using a bow. Ability 3, Projection Magecraft. Natsuki had obtained Projection Magecraft before, but the projected ninja tools were inferior to the originals and had time limits. This version was an all-around upgrade. The projected tools would be virtually indistinguishable from the originals. The unlock condition was relatively troublesome, though requiring the projection of 7 famous ninja tools. Fortunately, it specified ninja tools, not just swords. The scope was quite broad. Ability 4, Broken Phantasm. An ability that worked in tandem with Projection Magecraft. Its power depended on the projected ninja tool, or rather, the chakra contained within it. Its unlock condition was somewhat delicate. Famous ninja tools were usually very sturdy and hard to break, though not impossible. In the original story, Hitaki Sakumo's white light chakra saber had been broken. The sword of the Thunder God had been broken as well. Natsuki suddenly thought of a question. Why were there no abilities like Kanshou and Bakia, Khalid Bulk 2, or Roaias? Thinking about it, it made sense. The noble phantasms and weapons Emiya possessed were all projected, not the real things. Natsuki examined the Emiya template again and noticed something. Projection Magecraft's effect specified projecting ninja tools. But Unlimited Blade Works' effect changed to projecting weapons. Did this mean he could project Kanshou, Bakia, and the others within Unlimited Blade Works? But there was also a question: how exactly was weapons the user has seen and can recognize interpreted? Did he have to see the actual object with his own eyes? Or was that unnecessary? If unnecessary, could he project weapons from works he had seen in his previous life? The specifics would only be known once he unlocked Unlimited Blade Works. Chapter 57, The Konoha Sunin. Natsuki, you always manage to surprise us. After finishing her work, Tsunade walked over to Natsuki, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. As the person in charge, her duties included not only cleaning up the battlefield but also assessing merits for rewards. However, distributing rewards was mainly Sarutobi Hiruzen's responsibility. Her task was to assess merits and report them. Because of this, she knew about Natsuki killing Akabino Jinan and helping Orochimaru capture Sukazan Fugyuki alive. I originally thought you brought Natsuki along to broaden his horizons. I didn't expect this result. Jiraiya echoed. I didn't expect it either. A smile appeared on Tsunade's face. But thankfully we brought him along. Otherwise, we wouldn't have achieved such results. Your current strength is already close to Jonin level, but only when the enemy doesn't know your abilities. Orochimaru looked at Natsuki. Don't become arrogant. Natsuki is still young. Before Natsuki could respond, Tsunade interjected. And given his personality, I don't believe he'll get carried away. Why does it feel like you're acting as his teacher too? Jiraiya was slightly taken aback. I can indeed be considered his second teacher. Tsunade's lips curled slightly. How about I be his third teacher? Jiraiya blinked. What can you teach him? Orochimaru glanced at him. Whatever you can teach, I can teach too. What's that supposed to mean? Jiraiya got irritated. Come on, let's fight and see who's stronger. Enough. Now is not the time to argue. Tsunade stopped them. I have a suggestion: try to slow down the spread of Natsuki's fame as much as possible. You're worried that excessive fame will make him a target for other villages. Jiraiya immediately understood. I agree. Orochimaru nodded. He had previously said something similar to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Natsuki, what do you think? Tsunade looked at him. I have no objections. Fame is useless to me. Natsuki paused. Speaking of ideas, I do have one, but it concerns you three. Us. Tsunade and the others looked confused. Although I contributed to this battle, it's far less than what you three accomplished. Natsuki smiled. Why not promote the three of you as the Konoha Sunin? That way, the attention on me will naturally diminish. In the original story, Konoha Sunin was indeed their title, but it had been given by Hanzo. In a sense, it carried humiliating connotations. Because they had received the title after failing to defeat him in a 3-on-1 fight. Natsuki had thought of this idea on a flash of inspiration. Because this battle was impactful enough. Not only did it involve the Uzumaki clan, Kumigakure and Kirigakure, they had also achieved an unexpectedly great victory. Konoha Sunin. Jiraiya's eyes lit up. I like that. Compared to Orochimaru and Tsunade, he cared more about fame. In the original story, he had even created a flashy self-introduction catchphrase. Besides, he was currently in his youth. If he could make a name for himself, he naturally wouldn't miss the chance. I don't care. Orochimaru said indifferently. This idea isn't bad. I'll mention it to teacher when we return. Tsunade nodded. She was indifferent to the concept. After all, as the granddaughter of the god of shinobi, Senju Hashirama, she was already famous enough. Combined with her exclusive title as the most outstanding medical ninja. Let's go. We're heading back to the Uzumaki clan. Tsunade said with a smile. Clan head Keisuke is probably getting impatient. Let me see the spoils from this battle. Jiraiya took the scroll from her hands. The contents were divided into two parts. One was the merit assessment. For example, under Natsuki's name, it noted that he had killed Akabino Jinin. The other part was the spoils of war. For example, the captured ninjas. This was the section Jiraiya was examining. 3 of the 7 ninja swordsmen came this time. Tsunade noticed Natsuki's expression. 1 was killed. 2 were captured. Besides Sukazan Fugyuki, Kushimaru Kuriareri had also been captured. His strength was inferior to Fugyuki's. Since he had faced Jiraiya, he was taken alive. Can I examine their 3 ninja swords? Natsuki asked. I've long heard of Kirigakure's 7 ninja swordsmen. I'm very curious. His true goal was projecting these 3 swords to unlock his newly acquired Emiya template. Once we return to the Uzumaki clan, you can take your time examining them. Tsunade said casually. Thank you, Teacher Tsunade. What a pity. Natsuki thought to himself. If all 7 ninja swordsmen had come, he could have projected 7 swords at once. He suddenly thought of another question. Did projecting the sword of the Thunder God count? Judging from the unlock condition, it most likely did. In that case, the Kusanagi sword and the White Light Chakra saber should also qualify. Speaking of which, he hadn't met Hitaki Sakumo yet. This way, he could project 6 swords, leaving only 1 more. Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, thank you so much for your support. Seeing them, Uzumaki Keisuke hurried forward to greet them. Although he hadn't participated in the battle, he had watched the entire process through the mind's eye of the Kagura. The number and strength of the ninjas Kirigakure and Kumigakure had assembled this time had shocked him. He could imagine that without Konoha's support, the Uzumaki clan would have undoubtedly suffered heavy losses, perhaps even been wiped from the ninja world. The Uzumaki clan will bear all of Konoha's losses in this battle. Keisuke added immediately. You're too polite, clan head Keisuke. Tsunade nodded. On behalf of teacher, I have one more matter to discuss with you. What she was going to propose was exactly Sarutobi Hiruzen's previous suggestion. Konoha would help the Uzumaki clan fortify their barriers and defenses. In exchange, the Uzumaki clan would send some members to Konoha for exchange and learning. Then let's proceed to the main hall. Keisuke raised his hand. Please. Natsuki, this is for you. Tsunade handed him a storage scroll. These are the spoils from this battle. Natsuki nodded. He didn't follow them to the main hall. Given his age and status, he would just be standing off to the side anyway. Natsuki opened the storage scroll. As expected, inside were the 3 ninja swords of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Each sword had a seal on it because Kirigakure possessed a scroll that could summon the 7 blades. Without a seal, they would be recalled. Since he hadn't unlocked the Emiya template's projection magecraft yet, he could only use the Emiya Shiro template's version. Moreover, Natsuki was very curious whether the great sword Samehada could be projected. Conceptually, it was indeed a ninja tool. Just a living one. Chapter 58, The Furious Raikage. Natsuki reached out and grasped the long sword Nuiberi. Chakra surged from his palm, gradually enveloping the blade and seeping into it. A moment later, he used projection magecraft. An exact replica of the longsword Nuiberi appeared. The speed was due to the longsword Nuiberi's unremarkable material composition. The 7 ninja swords of the 7 ninja swordsmen each had their own characteristics. The longsword Nuiberi's characteristic was its senbon-like shape possessing extremely strong piercing ability. In terms of special materials, the great sword Samehada, the executioner's blade Kyubikaribasho, and the lightning swords Kaiba were the notable ones. The great sword Samehada was a living organism. The executioner's blade Kyubikaribasho could absorb the target's blood to repair itself. The lightning sword's Kaiba attracted lightning, allowing lightning release ninjas to save massive amounts of chakra. For projection magecraft to closely resemble the original, the user needed to have seen the item and possess a certain level of understanding. In short, the more you understood it, the more real it became. Natsuki then picked up the blunt sword, Kabutori. Its characteristic was its weight suitable for strength-type ninjas. Before long, Natsuki successfully projected it as well. When it came to the great sword Samehada, he encountered trouble. Because the chakra he infused was being swallowed by the blade. It seemed he couldn't project it. Natsuki considered for a moment, took out the sword of the Thunder God, and projected that instead. After the projection completed, a progress bar appeared for ability 3 of the Emiya template showing 3/7 completed. Half an hour later, Tsunade, Uzumaki Keisuke, and the others emerged from the meeting hall. Natsuki looked up at them. He noticed Keisuke's expression was not good. Did the negotiations fall through? The matter has been settled. We'll rest for the night and return to Konoha tomorrow. Tsunade met Natsuki's gaze. So the negotiations had been successfully completed. Keisuke's sour expression was most likely because he had guessed Sarutobi Hiruzen's intentions. But he had no choice but to agree. Teacher Tsunade, I'd like to study the great sword Samehada a bit more. Natsuki nodded and added. He wanted to try again. If it truly didn't work, he would give up. Then I'll leave it in your care for now. Tsunade said carelessly. Although the great sword Samehada was precious, its use was limited to ninjas skilled in swordsmanship. To her, it was just a passable spoil of war. If you like it, you can keep it. Orochimaru suddenly spoke. With your contributions in this battle, it is completely sufficient. The great sword Samehada would most likely be traded back to Kirigakure. First, because Kirigakure would definitely pay a satisfactory price. Second, because no ninja in Konoha was willing to use enough merit to exchange for it. Natsuki was slightly taken aback. The great sword Samehada was indeed excellent, but he had no intention of keeping it. After all, he now had the Emiya template. Once he unlocked projection magecraft, he could project various swords. Besides that, there was another reason: the great sword Samehada was a traitorous sword. It favored ninjas with high-quality chakra. In the original story, it had followed Killer Bee because it was infatuated with the Eight Tails chakra. Although Natsuki currently had 4 Kakashi's worth of chakra, that was far inferior to a Jinchuriki. He suddenly let out a soft sound of realization. Could he give it to Uzumaki Kushina? But she didn't know swordsmanship. She was better with her fists. Moreover, based on Natsuki's understanding of her, the great sword Samehada didn't fit her aesthetic. However, as the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, whether she had Samehada or not didn't really matter. If Kushina didn't want it, perhaps he could give it to Nawaki. As a member of the Senju clan, Nawaki's chakra quality was also high, second only to a Jinchuriki. Although he didn't know swordsmanship either, he could learn from Orochimaru. Kushina and Nawaki might be more suited for it. Natsuki considered and said. Why? Tsunade asked instinctively. I studied the great sword Samehada just now. It favors ninjas with abundant chakra. Natsuki paused. Besides, Samehada isn't suitable for my kenjutsu style. He couldn't imagine using such a clunky weapon to execute the techniques from the Zoro template or the Kamatu Tanjiro template. That scene would be simply too painful to watch. I see. Tsunade nodded slightly. She had originally had no interest in Samehada, but after Natsuki's explanation, she wanted to keep it for Kushina and Nawaki. With her status and merit, keeping it would be easy. The only problem is that Kirigakure has a ninja sword summoning scroll that can recall it. Jiraiya reminded them. Regarding that, our Uzumaki clan can help. Keisuke had recovered his composure. He smiled. The Uzumaki clan possesses a contract seal that can sever summoning contracts. There's actually such a sealing jutsu. Jiraiya asked in surprise. Tsunade and Orochimaru also looked startled. Reminded by this, Natsuki recalled. In the original story, Namikaze Minato had used the contract seal to free the Nine Tails from the masked man Uchiha Obito's control. Jiraiya and the others didn't know because Uzumaki Mito had never used it nor had she ever mentioned it. In the original timeline, because the Uzumaki clan was annihilated, their sealing techniques essentially became Konoha's property. But things were different now. Without the clan's destruction, Uzumaki Mito couldn't possibly teach the clan's core techniques to Konoha ninjas. That would cause alienation and even enmity between the Uzumaki clan and Konoha. In terms of sealing jutsu, the Uzumaki clan is very comprehensive. Keisuke said with a smile. Tsunade and the others nodded. It was indeed an irrefutable fact. A new day. Natsuki followed Tsunade and Orochimaru back to Konoha. Jiraiya didn't leave. He stayed behind with other Konoha ninjas to guard against another attack from Kumigakure and Kirigakure. Although the possibility was low, it was always better to be prepared. While Natsuki and the others traveled, the defeated ninjas of both villages had already fled home. Kumigakure. Reikage building. Bang. With one punch from the third Reikage, the entire desk shattered into pieces. Lord Reikage, please calm yourself. Dode spoke up. He was a Kumigakure Jonin, the evaluator of the double lariat, and his status was second only to the third Reikage. The double lariat referred to the combination technique used by successive Reikage and the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. This matter is most likely due to a leak on Kirigakure's end. Konoha received advance warning. Dode added. With Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru leading the response, plus an ambush, our loss isn't unjustified. Kirigakure is truly incompetent. The third Reikage said with great dissatisfaction. After this incident, Konoha and the Uzumaki clan will definitely be on guard. Another sneak attack will be extremely difficult to succeed unless we launch a full-scale war. Dode spoke slowly. We can observe the battle situation in the Land of Rain first before deciding whether to participate. The third Reikage nodded. Although Kumigakure's current situation wasn't bad, problems remained. For example, the Eight Tails Jinchuriki, Blue Bee, had developed psychological issues due to bullying from the villagers. His state was unstable. Another example, his son was still young. If something happened to him, his son couldn't hold the position. The third Reikage's plan was to focus on picking up easy advantages in this Shinobi World war. The next war would be when Kumigakure truly made its move. Of course, Konoha's strength also made him wary. The current Konoha was at its peak, its strength even slightly superior to Kumigakure's. In comparison, the third Mizukage's reaction in Kirigakure was very calm. He simply said one sentence, send someone to negotiate with Konoha and exchange Sukazan Fugyuki and the others back. Chapter 59, Becoming Famous in Konoha Village. 2 days later, Natsuki and the others successfully returned to Konoha. Orochimaru. Tsunade stopped and said, you handle sending these Kumigakure and Kirigakure ninjas to ANBU for interrogation. I'll go see teacher. Orochimaru nodded calmly. Natsuki, come with me. Tsunade suddenly added. Natsuki was slightly taken aback. Was he needed for something? Tsunade didn't explain. She said goodbye to Orochimaru and the others and headed toward the Hokage building. Natsuki also greeted Orochimaru and followed her. Your contribution this time is significant. Whatever reward you want, you can tell teacher directly. Tsunade reminded him. Hearing this, Natsuki fell into thought. Honestly, he didn't know what reward to ask for. More accurately, ever since obtaining the system, he hadn't lacked anything. Can I save it for later? Natsuki considered and asked. Of course. Tsunade chuckled. You can redeem it whenever you want. Natsuki nodded. With his current status, Sarutobi Hiruzen wouldn't go back on his word. What Konoha could give him was nothing more than ninjutsu, money, and ninja tools. Money and ninja tools were useless to him. Maybe he could ask for some special ninjutsu? For example, the 8 inner gates, multiple shadow clone jutsu, impure world reincarnation, flying thunder god technique, and spirit transformation technique. But Natsuki also had a problem, he had no talent for learning ninjutsu. He most likely wouldn't be able to learn the 8 inner gates or the flying thunder god technique. But the spirit transformation technique. Natsuki was still thinking as he entered the Hokage's office. Tsunade. Seeing them, Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled broadly. You did very well this time. You exceeded expectations in completing the mission. Tsunade had already had ANBU send the news ahead, but it only circulated within a small circle and hadn't spread. The reason he was so pleased wasn't just because they had defeated Kumigakure and Kirigakure but also because the Uzumaki clan had agreed to his suggestion. From now on, Konoha wouldn't have to worry about the Nine Tails and its Jinchuriki anymore. Moreover, you captured many Jonin alive. I'm sure we can obtain valuable intel. Sarutobi Hiruzen changed the subject. Have the captured ninjas been sent to ANBU? I've already had Orochimaru deliver them. Tsunade replied. Good. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Natsuki. Natsuki, your performance this time was also perfect. It even surprised me. Lord Hokage praises me too much. Natsuki said modestly. Feel free to ask for whatever reward you want. As long as Konoha has it, I can give it to you. Sarutobi Hiruzen said generously. For a peerless genius of the Hokage's faction who had made such a great contribution, no reward would be too much. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Natsuki pondered. I don't have anything I want right now, but I'm interested in the spirit transformation technique and would like to study it. The spirit transformation technique is S rank. At your age, it's too early to learn it. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused. You can read about it, but if you really can't learn it, give it up and revisit it later. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Natsuki nodded. The spirit transformation technique could separate the user's spiritual energy from their physical energy, transforming the spiritual energy into a spirit body to attack or possess a target. The reason he chose it was precisely because of the words spirit body. A spirit body might trigger a character template from Bleach. Because the Shinigami living in the Soul Society only possessed spirit bodies. Teacher. Tsunade brought up Natsuki's earlier suggestion promoting them as the Konoha Sunin. No problem. Sarutobi Hiruzen agreed immediately. I'll have ANBU handle it. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru were his students. The more famous they became, the more it highlighted his greatness. Moreover, Konoha also needed famous powerhouses to uphold its reputation. Among the current younger generation, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru were the undisputed cream of the crop. Sarutobi Hiruzen even thought further ahead. He hoped the next Hokage would be born from among the three of them. This required them to have enough fame to overshadow other ninjas like Konoha's White Fang, Hatake Sakumo. Is there anything else? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Yes. Tsunade glanced at Natsuki. I should have mentioned this earlier, but it was delayed because of the Uzumaki clan situation. Natsuki's thoughts stirred. She was referring to the red healing potion, Blood of God. This is a new potion Natsuki invented, called the Red Healing Potion. Tsunade handed over the formula. Natsuki had deliberately omitted Blood of God. After all, Senju Hashirama's title was the God of Shinobi. It could easily cause misunderstandings. What's its effect? Sarutobi Hiruzen's spirits lifted. It's an enhanced version of the blue healing potion. It can instantly heal injuries, but we don't know the exact extent yet. Tsunade replied. What do you mean? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked, confused. Have you not successfully made it yet? It's missing a key element. It needs something active added to it. Tsunade nodded. Something active? Sarutobi Hiruzen paused. After pondering, astonishment appeared on his face. He guessed what that active element was. Natsuki, you can leave first. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand. Yes, Lord Hokage. Natsuki turned and left. With Tsunade there, his merit wouldn't disappear. Tsunade, are you referring to the first Hokage's cells? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked slowly. My grandfather's cells best fit the condition. Tsunade nodded. Are you willing? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked, somewhat surprised. Protecting Konoha was my grandfather's wish. Tsunade said gravely. If the red healing potion really has such an effect, it will have an extremely beneficial impact on Konoha. True. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath. Then let's test exactly how effective it is. He stood and took Tsunade to the sealed wood release laboratory. Although the wood release experiment had failed years ago, many Hashirama cells remained perfect for making medicine. 2 hours later, after drinking the red healing potion, shock appeared on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face. He suppressed his emotions. Its effect is comparable to B-rank medical ninjutsu, perhaps even slightly superior. A dazed look appeared on Tsunade's face. She murmured, Natsuki's contribution this time is incalculable. Medical ninjas capable of learning B-rank medical ninjutsu were either chunin or jonin. Even among chunin, only elite chunin could master it. Once mass-produced, it would be equivalent to carrying an outstanding medical ninja with you. Although single-use, it could undoubtedly save lives at critical moments. However, because it involved Hashirama cells, mass production was unlikely. But it was enough to become standard issue for important Konoha ninjas. For example, Noeki. In a sense, it fulfilled Natsuki's suggestion of having a dedicated medical ninja in every squad. After leaving the Hokage building, Natsuki went to Konoha Hospital. It was currently morning. The medical ninja training class was in session. But to his surprise, upon seeing him, Yakushi Nono immediately ran out. The class teacher was a medical jonin. She originally wanted to stop such behavior, but seeing it was Natsuki, she hesitated for 2 seconds and let Nono go. One is Orochimaru's student. The other is Tsunade's student. Forget it, can't afford to offend them. When did you get back? Nono ran up to Natsuki and stopped. Just now. Natsuki reached out, pinched her cheek, and joked. Skipping class is wrong. Sorry. Only then did Nono remember she was still in class. Running out had been instinctive. She hadn't thought about it. I just came to see you. Natsuki withdrew his hand. Go back to class. Then you. Nono wanted to say something but hesitated. Don't worry. My mission is over. I won't be going out for a while. Natsuki guessed her thoughts and answered directly. Nono exhaled with relief. A smile appeared on her face. She nodded gently and returned to the classroom. Natsuki turned to leave. Natsuki. Noeki's voice rang out. He saw him running in from outside the hospital. I knew you'd be here. Noeki said, panting heavily. Why the rush? Do you need something? Natsuki asked with a smile. I heard from teacher that you defeated Akabino Jinin, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Noeki asked impatiently. It was a fluke. Natsuki replied. I was able to defeat him because of a technique I created. That's. Noeki's mouth hung open. He wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. When he had first met Natsuki, he was just an ordinary new student. But in less than 3 years, he had grown to the point of defeating a jonin. It was a dreamlike rate of improvement. Damn it! Noeki felt like his genius status was fake. I have to work even harder. Noeki, I believe you'll catch up. Natsuki comforted him. Do you believe those words yourself? Noeki's mouth twitched. Just call me Noeki from now on. I'm really not qualified to be called senpai. All right. Natsuki nodded. There's no need to be formal between teammates. Right at that moment, he raised an eyebrow and saw a flash of fiery red. Uzumaki Kushina. She jogged all the way up to him and Noeki. Why didn't you come find me after you got back? Kushina put her hands on her hips and asked angrily. Wasn't I just about to? Natsuki smiled. But I didn't expect you to find me first. Then what are you doing at the hospital? Kushina snorted lightly. Looking for Noeki. Natsuki said without hesitation. He did come looking for me. Noeki was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly confirmed. Kushina, how did you know I was back? Natsuki asked, confused. I saw your announcement. Kushina replied. Natsuki, you're really famous now. Noeki said enviously. Your announcement is everywhere in Konoha. My announcement? Natsuki was taken aback. Shouldn't it be about teacher and the others? It's mainly about my sister and the others, but it also mentioned you. Noeki briefly recounted the contents. The announcement used euphemistic language. It didn't explicitly state that Natsuki killed Akabino Jinin, only that he was with Tsunade and the others. Those who didn't know the truth would definitely assume Natsuki was just participating in a supporting role. Even so, for an 8-year-old to appear on such an announcement was shocking enough. Everyone in the village knew that another peerless genius had emerged. Chapter 60, Tsunade's Teaching. Natsuki, are you free right now? After chatting for a bit, Kushina spoke up. Lady Mito would like to see you. Grandma Mito wants to see Natsuki? Why? Noeki asked curiously. I don't know. Kushina shook her head. Lady Mito didn't say. Perhaps it's related to the Uzumaki clan. Natsuki guessed. In a sense, I helped save them. That's most likely the reason. Noeki nodded. I'll go back with you. How about we have Natsuki cook lunch today? Kushina licked the corners of her mouth. Natsuki's trip to the Uzumaki clan had taken about 2 weeks round trip. She hadn't eaten his cooking in a long time. I agree. Noeki said without hesitation. No problem. Natsuki chuckled. To capture someone's heart, you must first capture their stomach. It seems that saying holds true. Led by Noeki and Kushina, Natsuki arrived at the Senju clan compound. He had been here before but had never met Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. With her life nearing its end, she didn't live with Tsunade and Noeki. But it wasn't far, just next door. As soon as they approached, 4 ANBU ninjas appeared and blocked their path. Lady Mito wants to see Natsuki. Kushina, long accustomed to this, spoke directly. Only then did the 4 ANBU disappear. Grandma Mito's situation is special, so she has ANBU protection. Noeki explained. Natsuki nodded and didn't ask further. Grandma Mito, we're back. As soon as Noeki opened the door, he shouted toward the living room. And me and Natsuki too. Kushina followed closely. A moment later, Uzumaki Mito walked out. Lady Mito. Natsuki immediately bowed. So you are Natsuki? Mito said amiably. Thanks to you, the Uzumaki clan was able to avoid annihilation. Obviously, she had already received intel regarding the clan. With her status, both the Uzumaki clan and Konoha would inform her promptly. It was mainly thanks to Lady Tsunade and the others. Natsuki said modestly. Hiruzen and Keisuke have already told me about your contributions. Mito waved her hand. Let's go inside and chat. Lady Mito. Kushina closed the door. Natsuki's cooking is exceptionally delicious. Let him make lunch. How can we let a guest cook? Mito shook her head. Moreover, in her view, Natsuki was only 8 years old. No matter how good his cooking was, how good could it really be? I'm teacher Tsunade's student, so I'm not a guest. Natsuki smiled. I also want Lady Mito to taste my cooking. Since you put it that way, I definitely have to try it. Mito said, pleased. Although Natsuki was only 8, he gave her the impression of an adult. In the new school year, quite a few children from the Uzumaki clan will be coming to the Ninja Academy. I'll have to trouble you to look after them. Mito added. It was currently late January. School had already started. She was referring to March, the graduation and enrollment season. Furthermore, children from the Uzumaki clan coming to Konoha would need to reside there long-term, so preparation time was necessary. Really? Kushina's eyes widened. Why would I lie to you? Mito patted her head. She knew why Kushina was so happy, she would be able to meet many friends her age from the Uzumaki clan. Mito knew best what it felt like to be alone in Konoha. At least when she had come, she was already an adult and she had Senju Hashirama. Kushina was different. She had been sent to Konoha at age 7 with no relatives to turn to. Naturally, she had been very lonely. Natsuki had known this for a long time. He wasn't surprised. But he had a question, would Nagato be among these children? He quickly shook his head. Not to mention that Nagato was only 2 or 3 years old right now and couldn't enroll. Whether he even grew up in the Uzumaki clan was questionable. Natsuki vaguely remembered the original story mentioning that Nagato grew up in the Land of Rain. In other words, his parents hadn't fled there because of the clan's annihilation. Moreover, if he had truly grown up in the Uzumaki clan, he should be called Uzumaki Nagato, not just Nagato. Nagato's bloodline was inherited from his mother. His father was most likely a ninja from the Land of Rain. Is it this lively today? Tsunade's voice rang out. Sister, you're finally back. Noeki said excitedly. We were just waiting for you. I was delayed by something. Tsunade explained. She was referring to making the red healing potion, Blood of God. You all chat first. Tsunade added. Natsuki, come with me. Sister, don't take too long. Natsuki still has to cook for us. Noeki reminded her. Is my cooking not delicious now? Tsunade glared at him. It's delicious. Noeki coughed. But we already agreed with Natsuki beforehand, and Grandma Mito also wants to taste his cooking. Tsunade had learned from Natsuki for a while. Her culinary skills had improved considerably. But compared to Natsuki, the gap remained huge. Tsunade pursed her lips, unable to argue further. She walked to the entryway and bent down slightly. Influenced by gravity, her clothes hung down, forming a curve in mid-air. She lifted her right foot, toes tensing into an arch, and slipped into her high-heeled sandals. Standing behind her, Natsuki could clearly see her figure. Especially when bending over, the silhouette presented by her waist and hips looked as if it had stepped out of a manhwa. Let's go to the laboratory next door. Tsunade put on her shoes and opened the door. Follow me. Natsuki hurried after her. He quickly entered Tsunade's private laboratory. In terms of layout, it was similar to the one at Konoha Hospital. Do you know about cells? Tsunade asked. A little. Natsuki replied. I've read related books. Normally, cells cannot survive long after leaving the body. But there are always exceptions. After adjusting the microscope, Tsunade said, come take a look. Natsuki's thoughts stirred. He already had a guess. He walked forward and looked into the microscope. Cells so active they seemed like living creatures entered his sight. As expected, Hashirama cells. These are my grandfather's cells. We don't know why they possess such vitality. Tsunade speculated. Perhaps it's because he had so much chakra that his cells mutated. Truly unbelievable. After looking, Natsuki sighed. The reason I'm showing you this is because of the red healing potion. Tsunade produced a vial. After adding my grandfather's cells, it was successfully produced. I see. Natsuki nodded. The red healing potion is invaluable. But because it requires my grandfather's cells, it's not suitable for mass production. Tsunade paused. You are the inventor and have the right to decide how the red healing potion is handled. What are your thoughts? Teacher Tsunade, you provide me with the first Hokage's cells, and the red healing potion you need will be free. Natsuki considered. But others will have to purchase it at the original price. Tsunade thought it over and agreed. After all, Natsuki had an underlying meaning. She could request many red healing potions to provide to people close to her like Nawaki and Sarutobi Hiruzen. As for others buying at the original price, it could be considered Natsuki's reward. Besides, given his great contribution, making everything free would be excessive. Natsuki was also satisfied. The Nara clan provided medicinal herbs. Tsunade provided Hashirama cells. He was essentially profiting massively without investing his own capital.
Additionally, if you would like to request novels and access my Google Drive where I have 200+ audiobooks, then you can join my Patreon. Link is also provided in the description.